Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We want to thank everybody for tuning in to Hip Hop Citizen tonight for the Sunday special report. My name is Diva Views. I'm the Diva. These will be my views. And tonight we're going to be discussing where is the Black love. And joining me tonight, our special co-host guest is going to be Ruku. Introduce yourself to the people and let them know where they can find you.
How's it going, family? My name is Shahid Muhammad. I also go as Ruku. As far as a hip hop artist, I'm the local representative in Dallas, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But I'm also a father. I'm also a brother. I'm also a friend and a companion to the Black community and to anybody. I'm an educator, a teacher, and I'm real honored to be on the show today with Diva Views and to be able to talk to you and give you some different views from our perspective as far as the nation or from a positive outlook. And we're just gonna keep this conversation going and see where it leads.
Absolutely. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have a conversation about the topic. We're discussing topics that are hip hop adjacent on this
Hmm.
show. So we may not be diving into music, but it definitely
Right.
involves our citizens, and we want to make sure everybody stays informed. We do a lot of research and citing. So you'll see me look over at my screen a lot. So we hope everybody enjoys that. We're going to let a few more people come in here. So let's do some housekeeping notes. This is Hip Hop Citizen live stream. You can find us streaming on all platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram is our page. We have a Cornerstone show Friday Night Live where you can find us at 11 p.m. until we get tired. And that plays on all our platforms. We want to thank all our international viewers. Muggsy, I saw you saying hello. I know you're already tuned in. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We don't want this to be an extra long one, but hey, if the conversation gets good or if somebody calls in, we're going to rock with you. Thank you for rocking us. I know my usual suspects are going to be coming in here soon, too. So tonight's topic, we're discussing where is the Black love? And right off the bat, I don't want anybody to get scared from saying Black love. We understand we have a diverse hip hop citizenry, but I feel like there's
Hmm.
also other topics in here that could be available for everybody to apply. There could be some things you hear that you can take to heart. So don't be put off that we're talking about Black love and things that may be specific to our community, but I feel like it's something that can be addressed, and this is a topical show. So, and I'm the diva, and these are my views. So we're gonna dive in right there.
That's right.
So, Ruku, we're gonna start right off discussing relationship goals and couple goals. Now, right off the bat, I see a lot of people on commentary channels and women that have their own shows on YouTube talk about getting rid of the hashtag relationship goals, couple goals, because there
Hmm.
really are none. You should be paying
Hmm.
attention to your own and not worried about other people's, because as we've seen lately, what you see on the outside is not always what you think are going to be the goals.
Hmm. That's right. I think that comes from getting to know each other. I mean, if you and we're talking about we're dealing with some of us are just underdeveloped, some of us as men are underdeveloped, and some of us as women is underdeveloped. So when you try to take away the institution of marriage or cohabitating with male and female, then you really don't want to work together as a unit or as a team. And those who work together as a unit, they see the benefit of that, and those who work as an individual, they see the benefit of that. But I think that I don't think that we should look at marriage or relationship goals as a negative um, connotation or a negative effect because of the situations that maybe we have been in personally. But you want to focus on those relationships that actually work and that you see manage and actually prosper, and you'll see the jewels that they get from those relationships versus the jewels that they get from living that single life and that club life and doing those things.
I mean, and you are definitely speaking the truth, especially to our age group. But when you're younger and you're looking for examples, you kind of look to other people, and I understand that. And you're
Mhm.
actually trying to give compliments when you give those hashtags, or you say, you know what, I see them doing great. They look great. I think I want that. I want it. They're emulating it, and I get that. But at the same time, there really are not a lot of good examples of lasting, unproblematic Black love. And I'm wondering, is unproblematic even realistic at this point? Because there's no such thing as perfection. You shouldn't be striving for perfection, just like compatibility, being able to stand that person when they're chewing real loud or something. You want to be able to like want to do that. And I was trying to think of unproblematic examples. And all I could come up with off the top of my head was, I think Chance the Rapper just got married, him and his wife.
Mm,
Haven't heard
mm,
much about them in the blogs. Or
mm,
David and Tamala Mann from, Medea fame. They're in
mhm,
shape now. They're loving on each other. that
Mhm.
whole thing. That's all I could think of. Do you know any unproblematic couple goals?
Well, I think that that's unrealistic for us to think that you won't have any issues when you got two families. T.D. Jakes wrote a book talking about men and male and female together, but in that book he talked about how we had to shed off each other's cultures, and become tolerant of us of one another more. And I think you hit it right when you said, what is it that you'll deal with, but what is it that each other deal with, and that's really the real issue. Because when you talk to those individuals who, even when I was young, and you had your puppy love situations, and now I understand when the older sister was telling me, oh, that's puppy love, and I would look at her, I'm 17, 18, and I'd be like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. But really I
Right.
understand that. Really I understand now that love is duty, and commitment, and just being able to endure to the end. There is no couple that's been married 60, 70. And a good example for me is is the honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, who's all in the hip hop scene, and you see talking about Nick Cannon, but he has a marriage that's lasted over 60 some years,
Oh,
with
wow.
him and Mother Khadijah, and that's very that's a good thing to look at for a young man, to see that they can go that
Oh,
long. But he talks about the problems and how they work through the problems, and I think that's what we're missing.
right.
It's just that training. Like, we need a class on relationships. The
Yeah.
black and right, the male and the black female. We got to have relationships, or even how we talk to each other, how we deal with each other. I mean, it's a lot of other issues that we bring to this after we get past the puppy love. But if we're willing to withstand through the end, and shed those differences between each other, and then we'll build some solid with each other. And if something happens in the future and you break, you really miss that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus
Well, I
so
see what you're saying, because at 17, you know everything. Like, you're worldly
right,
wise.
right,
And what love is. You know what you think love is. Lust, maybe, but you don't always
right,
know what the work takes. And when we had
right.
the image up on the screen and we were talking about oh, it's hard here. We were talking about couple goals. Those couples in those squares, I mean, that's who everybody looked to. They looked to Swizz and
Right.
Alicia, and Will and Jada to an extent. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. They, look to the celebrities. Who else have we got
Yeah.
here? Oh, Gabby and Wade with the break
Hmm.
baby. We
Right.
had
Right.
Jay-Z and B, and
Beyonce.
they
Right.
all had their issues now. We know
Right.
them because they're in the public eye. And it's like they didn't get a chance to handle those things between themselves as couples. They had to explain themselves to all of us, which is
Right.
sad, but we're here for it. We're here for the tea. But at the same time, we want that, we've got to look elsewhere, like you were saying. And it looks like we have a call already. I think this is Honey Child. Hey.
Honey
Hello.
child. Hello.
Hey. What are you doing up
Hello
so
again.
late?
I'm not late.
You're not late? Okay. And you say so. So what do you want to talk about already? We're talking about love tonight.
Oh, 1 second.
Okay.
So Honey Child is a frequent viewer of the show.
Yeah, he or she just started calling us. They are from Abu Dhabi. And I was
Oh
saying it
wow.
must be late because I know it's like 2, 3 in the morning. And I was like, why are you up so late over there? Because my show is 8 p.m. here, and I think it's like, yeah, 3 or 4 over there going on. Like, it's middle of the night. So,
Oh
but
wow.
Honey Child calls in, and we don't make him or her, identify or anything like that. We just say, Honey Child, what you got to say tonight?
Uh-huh. That's right.
So we appreciate our international viewers.
That's right.
Well, it looks like Honey Child's trying to get their notes together. We're going to drop
Okay.
them back, and they're going to let the producer know when they're ready. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is that, like you said, there should be a class. And after I finished all my research, I was on YouTube and realized there is a show on
Mhm.
Oprah's network OWN, and it's called
Mm.
Black Love, the series. And I didn't
Oh.
realize that this was out there. I think I realized it because my favorite comedian, Kev on Stage, and his wife, Melissa, are on there. But it's basically a show where they discuss, let me see here, highlight love stories from the Black community and seeks to answer the burning question, what is the secret to making a marriage work? Now, on YouTube, if anyone wants to look that up, it's Black Love on OWN. They're mainly clips, but I'm sure some full episodes are available if you have cable on demand, or somebody bootlegged some episodes. But basically, the series, when you look through it, are the couples together like on a couch, and
Mm,
they're answering questions or they're talking about their experiences. One couple was saying the woman didn't want to be pregnant, and then 6 months into marriage, it popped up, so they had to have a discussion. Another couple, like Dondre Whitfield and Sally Richardson, how they made it work for so long. Who
mm,
else? Latoya Luckett, and like I said, Kevin on Stage and Melissa. So they are talking to couples who seem to be
mm.
happy or have long marriages, and like I said, David and Tamela Mann, and they're basically doing a TV show on it. So I was happy to see that, and I wanted to put that out to the hip hop citizens that that's something you can look to as well. I'm sure they're talking to therapists and professionals on that show too, but it's nice to hear like regular people stories.
Right, right. And even, it should go all the way down to the elementary level because even our children, they start talking about relationships early, going into the restrooms. I mean, I know because I
Oh
teach
no.
too. I'm an educator, so everything that they see and the, sex, drugs, and violence is being pumped into them every day. So it's like
Uh-huh.
we gotta hit them early on even how to deal with between male and female relationships. We have to,
We
especially
do.
in our community where 75% of our community is ran by single mothers.
Mhm.
I mean, it shows that it's kind of imbalanced when they come across maybe that dominant male figure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that has to be retaught. That has to be
And we
retaught.
are going to discuss the statistics later as well, but that's true.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like show them by
Mm-hmm.
example. And honestly, like I said, this is my view. We don't have a lot
Mm-hmm.
within our community, maybe in our local community, who are, the old heads that you look at and say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, Mr. and Mrs., Jackson have been together, like you said, 30, 40 years. Man, I want something
Right.
like that. Instead, they have to look to, J and B. They have to look to the Obamas, like this cute picture here I found on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
They are not seeing it in their neighborhood. So where else can
Right.
they look when they are craving somebody to emulate? So I
Right.
think I look at that and I'm just like, I like seeing where we're trying to make an effort to have that positive representation. But at the same time, I mean, we have to admit there is work. Like you said, there's struggle. But at the same time, there's also struggle love. Are you familiar with that phrase?
Struggle love. That's right. That's that enduring we was talking about. Okay.
Now, is that how you see it? Because this is where we can have a discussion. See, struggle love, people are starting to get away from that now. I know back in the day it was Eve talking about, passenger seat of the Bentley or the number two bus. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand that. But at the same time, should you be struggling in that love? Should you be hand to
Right.
mouth, day to day, trying to make it work like you're saying, but it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere? It's been 7 or 8 years that you've been engaged. I mean, it becomes a struggle. That's why it's called
Right.
struggle love.
Right. Right. And again, I mean, we look at it like you said, 7 to 8 years, people being engaged. No, you shouldn't struggle like that. I mean, if you're unhappy, then you gotta, and you just see it's not going to work, and you've exhausted all resources, then just like anything else, you have to depart from that. So, but again, we got to make better choices. We got to make better decisions, even in those initial contacts. We got to ask more questions. You got to have your own goals, your own personal goals, and bring them to the table. So you just don't be like a sponge and soaking up everybody else's juice. You got to bring your own juice to the table too. It's got to be
Okay.
it's got to be a team effort. So it shouldn't. It all goes back to the initial. We've never been taught, and I take it all the way back to like slavery and stuff. We just never been taught how to commingle together after they divide us and then try to force us back to each other. And if you
Mhm.
just look at the history of our relationship over here, when we first came over here, we were solid. It's just been a process
Right.
of breaking us up and breaking us apart. And we're seeing the
Hello.
effects of that. Uh-oh, somebody done came
Hey,
back.
hey, honey child, you back?
So I've heard that Black Love was a documentary that was made in 2017, and like Black Love is basically defined like within like the relationship as love for each other, like the Black people and the Black culture.
Hmm.
So it's like the type of love that is raw and beautiful and purifying,
Hmm.
basically.
That's
We
right.
have an infinity for our uniqueness of the Black experience. So, what we're trying to get out of it is that Black love is basically for the whole community. It's unique, it's something that we respect.
It is unique and it's a beautiful thing when you see it when work correctly and you see the glow off of people that are truly expressing that Black love. It absolutely is, and it's purifying in your soul. I appreciate that idea. Just like this piece of art I found on Instagram. I'm doing a lot of Instagram screenshots because I just found so much good stuff. And
That's
shout out
nice.
to this artist. It just looks great when you see couples that are genuine.
Right.
And Honey Child, what else you wanted to say
Right.
since we're so early into it? You gonna be listening tonight for a while?
Yeah, a little while.
Okay. Well,
Trust me,
we
we have
started
a
out with
very
this. Anything
different
else you want to
schedule
add
over
to the
here.
discussion? I'm sorry.
No, I was just talking about the schedule. I know
Oh
it's
yeah,
late
I
over here,
know.
but we have a different schedule.
Okay. Well, you can always catch the playback. We have it on the page, on our Facebook page, and for everybody else too. And you can always catch the playback on YouTube. We would love the views on YouTube. So you can always help me out that way too.
Yeah, sure.
Of course. Okay, honey child, we're gonna put you in the green room and you can have a cupcake or something like that if Juan didn't eat them all. And you be sure to listen to the rest, okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you.
Honey Child had a unique view on Black love. You know how it should be, how we're unique and how we're special.
And I think I wish everybody had that view. I wish everybody saw it that way. I don't know if Honey Child had anything else to say because they're very articulate and very, versed. But we've got so much to go through. So I hope Honey Child didn't think I was rude, but we're early in the show and we've got a lot of topics to touch on. But like I said, catch us on the replay, and that goes for everybody else. Just a housekeeping note, if we've got everybody in here, this is Hip Hop Citizen live stream, and you can interact with us as well, just like Honey Child just did. We probably have links posted on Facebook and the description box on YouTube. This is definitely interactive. And I have Mr. Ruku here with me co-hosting tonight, appreciating his views and perspective on it. And who have we got? Lisa. Hey, Lisa. It's about trust. We simply do not have it for one another. Why? Because we've been taught from slavery days to distrust and fight one another. Yeah, and it's like you were saying, Ruku.
But how do we rebuild that? Now that we know that, we got to come with the
Oh, your
solution.
first time here. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good, Lisa. But how do we rebuild that? We got to come together and really like build that and put like some tangible steps in building that trust back amongst one another. I mean, we know how it was broken. We all can read the history books, but none of us is really coming with a solution on how we can build that trust. And if we don't come up with something, now that we're educated, now that we're allowed since slavery, now we can make our own money, we can own our own businesses, and we may be behind the 8 ball because we're getting into this game late. But now that we're here, we just got to come up with some solutions and put them into action and see how they work. We have a lot of philosophers. We have a lot of psychiatrists in our community that have books on this. And, everybody's trying to make merchandise and money off of our pain. We got to come up with some solutions to it.
Absolutely. Micah, I see your messy behind in there. And going back to the couples that we want to see and emulate, I was thinking straight away when I started this topic of Alicia Keys' Unbreakable. Now, that's a fun acoustic version that she did. Everybody probably knows it. I'm a big fan of Alicia, regardless of her outside issues. And funny enough, it was released in 2005. And Kanye is a co-writer on the song, which I did not know. Wow. And I'm wondering, Ruku, I know you probably may not know the lyrics because that's more R&B. Should she change the lyrics now? Because this is how they go. I'm not going to sing them. Don't worry. She said, we could fight like Ike and Tina or give back like Bill and Camille. Be rich like Oprah and Stedman, or instead struggle like Flo and James Evans. Because he ain't no different from you and she ain't no different from me. So we got to live our dreams like the people on TV. And I'm just like, okay, it's a cute bop, but the older I get, the more I'm just like, no, I don't want to be like the people on TV.
Everybody will be in your life.
Right. See, I want to be like this couple, smiling, beautiful gray hair, just glowing in black excellence. Like, look at this couple. This is about longevity.
Right.
This is the example to me.
That's right. See, they need to be on the show. Right.
I wish I could have found them. Shout out to Instagram for featuring them. A lot of my screenshots tonight are going to be crediting the artists and the artwork. So I encourage everybody, when you see us put those images up, one, place I got them from was Museum of Black Love Art on Instagram. I'm sure that's the @ and then they credit their artists every time in their bio. So I appreciate that about them. But yeah, should Alicia go back and change those lyrics? Because first of all, she talked about Ike and Tina, but I saw the context she put it in. But then she said give back like Bill and Camille. Now, of course, she means the Cosbys. They were great philanthropists. But I don't know, can she make a modern day example of that?
Yeah, I mean, who's giving back? I mean, Bill Cosby at that time. I mean, I went to go see him at one time when I was in school. He would go speak to the colleges. He would have
Yeah.
big, and he would talk about relationships. I saw him at Oklahoma State University back in, oh man, that had to be like 97, 98.
Was that the Sooners?
Yeah, Cowboys, Oklahoma
Cowboys.
State.
Okay, shout out to Cowboys. Sorry about that, folks.
But he would talk about those relationships, and if we would have that couple that picture that you show, the number one thing that they would say is just what Lisa is saying down here. It's about communication, learning how to communicate. She said the problem is that we wish that we don't want to talk to each other. That's just because we're uneducated and unlearned about each other. So it's just like anything else. If we don't know too much about you, or we don't know how to deal with the attitude, or we don't know how to deal with the voice inflections and this and all that, because we don't know how to our interpersonal skills between male and female are broken down, then we got to have a class on that all the way from elementary all the way up to high school. So when you graduate, you at least know how to communicate with each other. Other communities don't have that issue. It's just our community has that issue. When you look at how they keep their culture intact, well, we don't have a culture because it's been stripped from us. So yeah, we're going to have communication issues unless we're dealing with the slave master and his children, and all of the way that we think about them and put them in places of rulership over us. So this is something that we got to do. And we can do it right here. We can do it right here. We just bring a couple on here. Y'all know some couples. Tell them to tune in and call.
Tell them to call in.
Right. Tell them to give us some jewels.
The older black men hey Erica, where the police is back up, where's the older black men to teach the young men? That's a good question. Where they all go? I think they were taken from us in a lot of ways. Through death or detention, our men were taken from us, and those examples these days, the guys don't want to hear from them now. That's just Uncle Leroy talking, he ain't saying nothing. I don't think they'd listen now.
Well, when we go into schools, I go in with different organizations into like the middle schools and high schools and stuff here in Dallas, and they're all open ears. It's just it has to be consistent. I mean, we have some organizations here in Dallas that are actually, going in, Next Generation Action Network, Nation of Islam, some churches and stuff in the community that go in that they join together and they go into the schools and teach them about manhood, teach them about how to deal with the opposite sex, teach them about puberty, teach them how to tie a tie. You deal with Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, who does it. All of these other, Greek organizations. It's just we got to have more of it. It's just not enough for us to go in, 2 or 3 times out of a child goes to school for 187 days. They're at the school from sun up to sundown. When they get home, they're only dealing with their parent. They have to do. You got homework. All right, got to do your homework. Get ready for tomorrow. Boom. If we get back into that cycle. So we got to have those outlets. Like right now during COVID, we got to have those outlets where the students or those young students can come in and talk about these things. We can still do men mentorships during COVID-19. You got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I think it's important, like you said, to have those programs, to have that consistency. But once they go home, are they still seeing it? Are they still seeing examples? Is it being reinforced? Because it's just like any other subject in school. You can learn it at school all you want to, but are you just put in front of Nickelodeon when you get home or whatever the kids on my lawn watch these days? Is it being reinforced? So I think that is 2 parts. It's great about that. And Stephen, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We're talking about Black love. Where's the love? And because we have a diverse hip hop citizenry, we don't want anybody to feel like, you can't participate because you're not Black. We're just focusing on that subject right now. But any type of love, any type of relationship, I'm sure we're going to have some tidbits in here that you can apply. We've had some callers already. Honey Child, we always appreciate you. You're adorable. But anybody else can call in and participate. Is your mom listening? Is she somewhere where she could tell us how she did? Or is your uncle and auntie somewhere where they can call in? We would love it. So let them know. Ruka, one last thing I want to touch on before I get into the next subject, which I can get feisty about, being unevenly yoked, because that's a big deal to me. And my other thing, I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm very realistic, and I've got a little bit of a hard shell too over my life of dealing with various things.
Mhm.
I just feel like love don't pay the bills. You can love me all you want, but Duke Energy does not take, we've been together for 3 years and we got history. Spectrum Cable does not take, I love you, girl. If they do not take that. So one time I got into an argument with an old friend of mine about The Notebook. Okay,
Mhm.
corny movie. I finally sat down and watched it because at the time it was hot. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's so good."
Mhm.
And when I finished watching it, I was like, they could have solved this in the first hour because that was dumb. Like, why did you go? Have you seen the movie?
I haven't seen it, but keep
Oh,
telling me.
don't bother. Don't subject yourself to that corniness. Basically,
You
the
tell me.
Notebook is by Nicholas Sparks, and he does a lot of the sappy love stories, and is about this couple who the man starts out in an old folks' home reading a story to another woman about, and the story at through the thread of the movie is about their romance, but she doesn't know it. I guess I won't spoil it for anybody, but basically, they are from the wrong side of the tracks. He's the poor boy just struggling to make it, and darling, shut up. It's not a great movie. That's a corny mess. And she is the posh, rich girl, but wants to mess with the bad boy. And so, she does the whole typical thing. For me, it's a trope. It's like, I love him, daddy, and you can't keep us apart. And oh, you work at the, paper mill. I don't know if you're good enough for my daughter. And what's Sunny Child saying? You should also touch on the topic on why Black people should date someone which is the same race or another race. Do you mean, honey child? We're definitely going to touch on that later on in the segment. About the Notebook, basically it boiled down to they were not evenly yoked, because think about it. She was a rich girl used to rich girl things, and he was working at the paper mill living on the other side of the tracks. And then when he showed up, like the typical, showed up to dinner in his
Mhm.
cleanest outfit with all her family and friends, they were like, so what do you do? And what, how are you? Oh, you don't know about finger bowls? But yet she was going to love him anyway. And of course they struggled over the years, left each other, came back together. Their love was grand. And all I kept saying was, why did you get with him in the first place? Because you knew he couldn't support you, and you knew he was only making 5 cents an hour at the paper mill. You knew you were going to be miserable because he couldn't get you new dresses. Why did you marry? So me and my friend had this argument. Of
Mhm.
course, I got called gold digger because I thought he should be making enough money to support. He built her a house with his bare hands, and he proved himself. Oh no, don't get me started on Hallmark movies. I can't. It's traumatizing.
They shooting in now.
Oh, now they want to talk about it. Now that I'm
They
talking
shooting at you now.
these are my views. I'm the diva. So my whole thing that we got into an argument about is that they called me a gold digger because I thought he should have had the money to take care of her in the lifestyle that she was used to, and that she was going to be miserable when they were sitting together trying to split a bologna sandwich in the dark with one candle. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm sorry, most of the divorces that take place in this country are over financial issues. So why are you going to set yourself up for failure because you think love will conquer all? Love is not going to conquer Duke Energy shut your lights off and the water going out. What you going to do then when you both living in the car? Well,
Mhm.
our love will keep us strong and we'll make it. You should
Mhm.
come on, man. Lisa, don't help. Don't help. You know what I'm talking about, Steve. Roll your eyes. The point is, that to me was unevenly yoked. To me. How about that?
Well, I got a question. What is love?
Oh gosh. It is finding somebody to match your weird. Somebody that you are compatible with and can tolerate each other for the rest of your lives.
Hmm. So when we say compatibility, I mean, does everything have to like match up like Legos and it just
No, and that's the thing. It shouldn't. You don't have to be
Mhm.
alike. You just have to get along. And you have to like that person.
Hmm.
Love is easy for women. Men, it's more about respect, and then the love comes. Women will love you regardless. Women will love you for all your flaws. But compatibility is just about, like I said, you can tolerate that person when they're breathing too loud or chewing too much. You're compatible. You have things together that make you that couple, but you don't have to be the same.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Well,
it's
well,
like,
I kind of look at it as like, love is duty. If you're gonna be dutiful to each other, you know, and even be respectful enough to keep your duty to each other. Because when you say that, okay, the whole objective of falling in love and, you know, cohabitating with each other to eventually marry, have children, build family, build business, build, you know, everything that that you dream about doing. But if you're not committed to each other, then you won't even honor each other enough to even stick it through those rough times. Because I mean, just think, okay, as a man getting in a relationship, I don't know how you was growing up. You know, I meet you at college, but I really don't know what built you up to what I saw where I saw you at like
Right, who
2021.
you
You see what I'm
are,
saying?
how you
Right.
became who you are. Yeah.
Right. So it takes time to even know that, and vice versa. As a female, you won't know me, say if I meet you after I graduate from high school or something like that, and we meet somewhere. It takes time to do that. So um, yeah, the first initial sight of each other is more of lust, like you said earlier. It's more of I like you because of your physical features, but now I get to know your
Yeah.
mind. I get to see how you work. I get to see this. I get to see that. So it has to be some type of court. You know, the old school people used to call it courting. You know, are you courting her? Or are you doing this? Well, that means
Yeah.
is there a program going on for you two to know each other before you even get too deep and committed, and it's not all just sexual. You know what I mean?
Right. I think Lisa and Erica are making good points in the chat. They're talking about
Mm,
love is your definition. It's an
mm,
energy. Love just is. You know it when you
mm,
feel it. And I understand all that. Like I said, I'm more pragmatic. I tend to be,
mm,
decide on risk assessment and management, that kind of thing. And so when I'm talking trash about the Notebook, I'm
mm.
looking at it as I couldn't suspend disbelief much longer past the first hour because I was like, okay, this is gonna be typical, but she could have saved herself some trouble and married James Marsden, but that's just me. Uh,
Mm.
the next thing, falling in love is just another feeling, lust to be exact. Um, yeah, remember relationships is commitment, but love is a choice. Commitment makes the difference because you can love anybody, but commitment, that has a different definition.
Right, because I mean, you say you love your mom. I love my dad. I love my auntie. I love my niece. Okay, so what built that
Right.
love? What built that love? You know, your mom was committed to raising you. So it's like, okay, I
Mhm.
love her. She done this for me my whole life. So that's why I say love is duty. Is what you fought. Yeah, of course, you get that feeling, that fuzzy. That's more of just a mating thing. That's an attraction that you have towards each other. But that love thing, that's duty. That means that you trustworthy. That means you committed. That means that your word
Mhm.
is bond. You don't have to lie. Even if you're wrong, we can bring it to the table and we can deal with it, you know?
I think that's important because you have to really define it for yourself in order
Right,
to start looking for it and to start giving it to someone else. And of course, it
right.
starts within you. That's the overarching, theme. As RuPaul says, I'm a Drag Race fan. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen?
Right.
Amen.
Right.
So it
Amen.
starts there too. Now I said we were gonna get into something that makes me feisty, and I'm sure
Okay.
everybody in the chat gonna have something to say again. We're going to get into the idea of loyalty and what that means in respect to Black love and couples and relationships. So, for copyright purposes, we can't play the video, but one of my favorite comedians, Kev on Stage, has this video that from a couple of years ago where he was roasting the guy who posted on his social media for some reason a picture of himself and his wife, just a regular couple, and
Mm-hmm.
the caption said, "She ain't the prettiest, but she's loyal."
Mm-hmm.
And Kev on Stage was going in, like, and he has like a million followers and all this stuff, because and so everybody in the comments was like, what he talking about? She's beautiful, she's a queen. And I guess he thought that was a compliment in his mind, I guess, that she ain't the prettiest, but she's
Mm-hmm.
loyal. But to me, I was instantly insulted and offended for her because I was like, wait, so if she was pretty, it would have been okay if she wasn't loyal? Like, what are you trying to say? Hey, Gary says Niski. Something that sticks with me is you got to love yourself. Yeah. Get to know thyself. Um, yeah, that quote didn't sit right with Kev. It didn't sit right with anybody in his comments. There might have been a few people that had that views like, yeah, loyalty is important. But this brings
Mm-hmm.
me to the idea of the ride or die chick.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie and Clyde mentality. It's not good for Black women in general. It's not good for any woman in general. That idea that, first of all, those are your only two choices, ride or die. Are those my only two choices? I have questions. Why do we have to ride or then die? Will there be snacks? Where are we going? How long are we going to have to ride for? Like, I have questions. And see,
Mm-hmm.
this picture up here is a good example of this. Again, this is from the Museum of Black Love Art on Instagram. Give them a look. I really like their work. But this is a perfect example. And the person was shouting them out and saying, tag if he's your ride or die, tag if you've already found her. And I'm like, you see the situation they're in this photo. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, I get it. It's a random robber. You're looking to protect yourself and your man. I get that. How'd you get in that situation in the first place? Like, did he make you go a different way home? Did y'all decide at midnight you're gonna go get a hoagie? Like, what got you in that situation in the first place? And for me, I was even when that was a big thing in the 90s, because that's when I feel it started for our generation. It started up in the 90s, and this article I saw from Madame Noir also had a definition, but the first definition I found when I did the Google is that a ride or die chick is a neologism, which is basically an idiom of hip hop origin, referring to a woman willing to support her partner and his risky lifestyle, despite how this might endanger her or harm her. And that's exactly what it is to me. Madame Noir also was mentioning, they had a slideshow and they were talking about, if you take a look at some of the top hip hop songs, they use the term ride or die chick, like '03 Bonnie and Clyde by Jay-Z and Beyonce, Down Ass Bitch by Ja Rule and Charlie Baltimore. There's a name I haven't heard in a while. Or You're
Right.
All I Need, Method Man and Mary J. Now, I can't deny that song. That's a gorgeous song, but it's in the same vein. So the theme behind the term is clear. When you're someone's ride or die, you're his oxygen, his fuel, his grounding force, while also his partner in crime. You get the idea. And while the term may have originated in a sense to describe a woman who would support her partner in a dangerous and illicit activity, it has mellowed out a bit to describe a woman who will be by her partner's side through all of life's adventures, challenges, and downfalls. But that all sounds dramatic. And sometimes you don't need to skydive into shark-infested water to prove you are his ride or die. Women in committed relationships know that this is what it really means to be a ride or die chick. So if you go to madamenoir.com, you type in the search actually means ride or die chick. That's a slideshow that they put together. And I polled some of the guys in the group. I won't name names. And they said one definition they have is someone who sticks by my side when the shit gets bad and calls me out in my BS within reason. And another guy said someone who will take a bid for her man. So I hate this term. I've always hated this term. If you are a criminal and you're stupid enough to get caught, first of all, the judge broke us up. Let's read Linda's phrasing here. Ride or die is a hood reference, in my opinion. I'm from the hood, but of course, I've grown out in a way. Does not mean I forget, but I know that's not who I am. And that's the first thing, knowing who you are. I know I am not built for that lifestyle. There may be women who are built for that lifestyle, but the other thing I reference is Belly, because I mean, you remember Belly. Everybody's in that movie. That's when every rapper was doing movies. And when I remember the scene with Terrell Hicks, gorgeous girl, she had a music career as well. And she was in the kitchen with her face mask on, getting herself together. And the ATF busted in the door and dragged her out, face mask and all, out the house. And threw, and the only person to come see her was T-Boz. I was like, see, right there. Right there. You are not setting me up to get drug out the house in my underwear in the middle of the night and then you leave me to take the fall. No, I'm not a rider. I'm telling all of it. I'm telling where your grandma lives in South Carolina. I'm telling your social security number. I'm going to tell them your dog's middle name. No. This photo right here, protect him, protect her. That makes sense to me, but ride or die, never. Go ahead, Ruku. I know I'm going off.
Nah, you're okay. You're okay. I mean, it's just like what Lisa said. I mean, ride or die refers to more of a hood reference and hip hop slang that Hollywood is putting out for us. But it goes like, I mean, you look at, if I use the reference right, ride or die, or someone who protects his and she protects hers. I would look at, what about Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King? She rode with him all the way to death. What about that? What about that relationship?
Absolutely. I mean, and they had their issues too. There were issues of fidelity and strain and stress in that relationship. But you're right. You stuck with it, and she did, and she endured. And she lived a good, full life with somebody who enjoyed her. Troy Whitehead is saying, go back to the 80s or even the 70s. Superfly and some of the Black films back then, at least to me, Florida Evans was a ride or die. That's a good example. I can't deny that. I can't deny that. Definitely what I'm referring to is the hood you know, the 90s version, the version when, can you read nothing is more attractive than loyalty? Even the beauty. Nothing is more attractive than loyalty, and you can get that. But you've got to express your need for fidelity a different way. Because let me tell
Right.
somebody, in case they're not familiar, Bonnie and Clyde died together. They died together. That does not sound glamorous to me. And trust me, I know about Bonnie and Clyde. Me and my friend are into like true crime and stuff like that. Not only was Bonnie 24 years old, she had been
Mm.
married when she was in high school. And Clyde Barrow came along and took her, after her marriage was bad, on this adventure where they were running from the law, robbing people, killing people. When they were finally caught and ambushed, they filled that steel car with 112 bullets. The coroner at the time had so much trouble embalming the bodies, there was a delay
Wow.
in the burial. When they were parading their bodies through the streets like a tribute, people came out and like picked things off her dress. They
Mm.
were, you know, cutting locks of her hair, taking buttons off her dead body.
Wow.
That is not glamorous to me. That
Right.
is not a glorious way to die in each other's arms. No. How about you don't put me in that situation if you love me?
Right. 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 It's
That's what
just
I
that
don't
gangster
appreciate
lifestyle.
about that idea.
Yeah, it's that gangster lifestyle that you can live on the edge and have somebody with you that's willing to die with you if you want that type of lifestyle. That's just what it's all about. I rob banks, I get into shootouts, I steal, I sell dope, and I got a sister or I got a companion with me that's willing to ride or die with me to push that type of thought process. And that ain't growth. It's just like you said, it all ends with death. So that's not even, ride or die is not a good example of healthy relationships in the black community.
And that's what I hate about the idea that that seems to be what permeates. That they
Mm,
seem to think that that equals loyalty and fidelity. And Lisa was
mm,
bringing up a good point in the chat about that. That is
mm,
not a healthy way to
mm.
express that you want loyalty and fidelity, that you
Right.
want someone who is going to be supportive and enthusiastic in their love for you. If you
Mm,
want that, do it in a healthy way. This picture is her on his shoulder. He's
right.
looking off into the distance, shining and glistening in his own destiny, if anybody knows Tony Baker. But he's got her. That looks like
Right.
loyalty and fidelity to me. That looks like
Right.
I feel protected. I know I'm loved and I'm secure. And
Right.
that's why I think that makes more sense. And Troy, I understand you're saying that, you know, Florida Evans, through the ups and downs, they never gave up. But that goes back to the idea of struggle love. You know, I
Mm.
think there is a difference in sticking together through, for better or for worse. But at the same time, I think you have to use your discernment to figure out when you need to bounce. And yeah, Lisa, I'm too old to be with a doughboy. I'm too old to try to ride or die. I can't be a mule for you.
That
You
trap
know,
life.
trap life. No, I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. I'm too bougie for that trap life. Black love, black love is strength and beauty, like Honey Child said
Yeah.
earlier. It is special, purifying, and unique. And I love this picture. Again, shout out to Museum of Black Love Art on Instagram. Their artists that they find, they are gorgeous. And I love
Mm.
pictures like this that show a positive depiction of Black love and how it should be. You should be strengthened. You should feel held up. A lot of people, another way that they point to it is Gucci Mane and Keisha Kayor. I don't keep up with what the kids look at these days, but
Mhm.
apparently they're being held up as an example of couple goals too, because apparently she went through a lot dealing with Gucci Mane on drugs, cheating, getting her in trouble, calling her out her name, and yet they just got married, I think, a year, 2 years ago. I'm sure
Mm.
somebody in the chat will tell me. And everybody's like, see, she stuck with it, and he's her reward, and she, you know, she's the ride or die, and she stuck with it, and loved him for it, and look at how he rewarded her. And I'm just like, again, that doesn't seem like love to me. Like you've been rewarded for all your hurt and pain and crying, and that doesn't feel like a reward to me. I guess it's just me because I'm just like, that doesn't feel like a reward to me. Ruku, go ahead.
Man, with that struggle love, I guess that's just from the mind of somebody who just wants to be married. Because it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic.
Florida
I've been,
Evans is just a fighter and
I've
a
been
warrior. Much respect for what she did. Absolutely.
right, absolutely. I mean, I can only speak. I mean, from my perspective, I've been with my wife for 20 years. We met when we was teenagers.
Oh,
Through our ups and downs, from working in corporate America, and then building a business together. You know, that's all I know. It's gonna be commitment. It's gonna you got to be with somebody who you can go through the different transitions of your life with. You know, and
Mhm.
you know, it's gonna make a difference on what type of love you're gonna have, depending on what stage of your life you meet this other person. So for me, we've been through a lot, and we still here. And when you say that struggle love, sometimes you get into a situation where you know you want to leave, and you, oh man, I ain't compatible, and this and all that, and you start working out things with the children, and then next thing you know, you back in love with each other, and you, okay, we messed up here, and this is where we went wrong here, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It all goes back to open dialogue and communication, because you got two people coming together that may not be fully developed when they come together to understand what it is on how to build a family, because we never been taught.
Yeah.
But you stick it out, and you take the best methods, and you take the best courses that work for you, you know, and you get through the end, and you see that reward. But that's why I say love is duty. It always starts out as puppy love. It always starts, oh, I can't be, you know, I'm all in your face and kissing on you and holding you on, and
Falling
then it gets
asleep on the phone and
right, all of that. Then it goes, okay, you got a baby involved, and then you know things, it shifts a little bit. Then you got another baby involved, and it shifts a little bit, you know. So then you got to find other ways to keep that kindle, to keep that going, to keep the romance going. That's what I'm saying. We got to talk about those things, because that's what establishes black love. All of this, you know, some of these relationships that we see, it's all about likes and shares and getting them out there for the next album. You know, they got big marketers sitting behind them, telling them what pictures to put up, and you
yeah.
know, so we got to get to the real meat of the issue in the black community.
Absolutely. We need more people willing to have those dialogues, have the hard discussions, have, like you said, have those discussions where, look, we're growing. It looks like we're growing apart, but let's try to grow together. Let's try to, make sure that we are still on the same page. And I know Troy is saying, true. I look more at the time period of good times and the struggle as it may be. I think it shows you how to fight the fight together. It would be easy to say the Cosby Show. So yeah, not everything can be like the
Right.
people on TV. And if you're grown, you understand that. But at the same time, you've also got to have your personal boundaries. You've got to look out for yourself and love yourself in order to love that other person. And if you are willing to stick with it, if you are committed, like you said, if you have that sense of duty,
Mm-hmm.
um, that is what you're going to stick with. You chose that life, choose your choice. And make sure that you're growing together and communicating the whole time. That dialogue cannot be, emphasized enough. You've
Right.
got to check in with each other.
That's right. And even what Lisa just said, she said, "Where are these men?" I just met someone this evening trying to while pumping gas. He asked for my number before asking for my name. Did you give it to
Wow. Are you serious,
him?
Lisa?
Did you give it to him, Lisa? And if he
Lisa,
called,
I hope you didn't give him your number, girl.
and if he called, but have a good question for him when you call, you know, be like, "How you doing? Wooty wooty woo. What you want in a relationship? What you want out of me? What is it that you want to do with me? Why you want my number?" You know what I'm saying? You got to go right to
Right,
it.
right.
Right, get right to it.
For all you know, I got 3 heads in my freezer. You trying to pick me up at the gas station? Like what?
Right,
Lisa,
right.
I hope you didn't entertain that foolery. Because the other thing I wanted to bring up is there was an article that was discussed why Black women struggle more with domestic violence. This is by a woman named Feminista Jones. If you guys want to look up the article, I always try to cite what I find and the research that I have. And we'll try to put some links in the comments on the replay and the post and in the description box or the comments on Facebook. She explains that while Black women are almost 3 times more likely to be killed in an abusive relationship than their white
Mm,
counterparts, they are less likely to seek help when a relationship becomes increasingly unhealthy. And despite this, celebrity couples continue to use the ride or die / Bonnie and Clyde trope in music and videos. Because, like you said, I guess they want to do that marketing. They want to hold
right,
themselves up as the epitome of what it looks like to have that loyalty. But blind loyalty is not good for you. It's not
right.
good for any relationship, men, women. It's not good for you to have your kids blindly loyal. You want them to, be questioning, be making their own decisions. Staying in a relationship out of a sense of duty or blind loyalty, as many ride or dies do, is unhealthy. And not the way Ruku means duty, but like, well, we got history. I always hear that on Maury. We got history. We've been together 3 years. I'm like, 3 years? History?
That's a
I've got
3-year-old. They
bras
still
older
in,
than that. What you
right,
mean?
they still in diapers.
Shoot, that relationship is still on Infamil.
Right, that's
You should not stay with someone who is hurting you or putting you in unhealthy situations out of a sense of duty or loyalty. That's not
right.
loyalty. That's that struggle love that makes you end up on Maury because he's taking a lie detector test.
Right,
So
right,
you have
right.
got to know the difference. And I encourage women to not feel guilty about looking out for themselves, about questioning dudes that come up to you at the gas station. Don't feel like you shouldn't be looking out for yourself. And the same goes for men. Don't just take any old chick at the club. Don't just, your mom introduces you to somebody at church, so you got to date them now. No, you should be looking out for yourself. And I think the other thing I looked at, because like I said, hip hop culture, pop culture, Upgrade You by Beyonce lyrics. Now, Beyonce,
Mhm.
I like that early Beyonce. I'm still rocking with her in the closet, but that album, that song, don't come for me, Beehive. Um, that song and that video, of course, Swizz Beatz on the track, I adored it. And the lyrics are the opposite end of the spectrum, because instead of promoting struggle love, she's trying to epitomize hypergamy, which I just learned that term means marrying up, basically. She's trying to say,
Mm.
if you get with me, I can upgrade you to, Audemars Piguet watches and, purple neckties. I can get you diamond cream facials. I'm like,
So she wants
okay,
to
is
buy
there a
him.
middle ground?
She wants to buy him. It's a slave trade.
Ah, oh no, he did not. She does say, take me to the meetings, I'll help you get the deals, and I'll hold you down like, Martin did for the people. So she references that. Now, hold you down, same trope. Holding you down does not mean putting up with your bull. I
Right.
just want people to understand that on either side, men or women, that doesn't mean I have to put up with your crazy. And that does not mean I have to like hold your weed while we're in the car between my thighs so the cops won't find it. That's not what hold you
Right,
down means.
right.
So
Take the
we need
charge.
to find another way to express fidelity and loyalty.
Right.
And let me get off that soapbox, because the other thing I want to point out to people, now I don't know if Dialect or Juan in the back, shout out to our producer, Dialect 718. And I think Don Juan the Mac is going to come on and relieve him in a little bit. There's this link in the bio that says, like I said, I did the Google, and you guys got to look at this. It's wikihow/fun.com. How to be a ride or die chick.
Oh wow.
It's a wiki page that described how it gave you steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how to be a ride or die chick. And I was laughing because I'm like, first of all, there are instructions.
Oh
Like,
wow. Somebody's having class.
somebody took the time. I'm so mad. Somebody took the time on wikihow-fun.com how to be a ride or die chick. I was that's so sad. I'm like, but please don't follow those instructions. It's not
Right.
necessary. I guess I shouldn't judge. If you are about that trap life, if you are about being a mule, holding them down, you think this is blow or, traffic or something, absolutely go for it, girl. If you want to, live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse, do you. The rest of us would like to, stick around a little longer. Now, the other thing I want to shout out is an Instagram page dedicated to Black Love Exists. It's called, I found it under the hashtag Black Love Exists. That's
Black
the
love
name of the
exists.
page too. So if you at them on Instagram, it will be, it's called Black Love Exists. I think we are using social media and the power of it to get together and discuss why Black love is important, why we want to encourage it, and why we want to, find a way to have more of it and more examples of it. So I'm proud to
Mhm.
see, in whatever way possible, that we are still trying to find positive representations of Black love for ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, the next thing we want to go into, and folks, if you've been sticking around with us this whole time, we hope you're enjoying it. Please give us a like, a share, follow the page. This is Hip Hop Citizen live
That's
stream
right.
show. We're
Share, share,
all
share.
social,
Like.
all social media platforms. This is at the real Ruku that we're speaking with tonight. He's dropping gems. He's giving a great perspective as an old married man, and he's got some experience. And if you folks that are married want to call in, if you've got an experience of positive Black love, let us know. You can absolutely interact with us in this discussion that we're having. And we love that people are interacting in the chat. The next subject I want to touch on, Ruku, is self-love and what does it look like? So
Mm,
That's not just a catchphrase. I think it's important to touch on that. One
mhm.
of the first iterations I heard of Black love that really spoke to me, even as old as I am, was Brown Skin by India Arie.
Mm,
When she came out with that
yeah.
song and she was talking about self-love, how important it was, how much, she appreciated being able to, have that opportunity to say, look, I love myself. I love my skin that I'm in. This image we have on the screen right here is from a brother who said, the greatest happiness you can have is knowing that you do not necessarily require happiness. His quote came from William Royan. And the brother was saying, I believe this so much. Happiness is fleeting and it'll never be the goal of my life. I'm grateful when I can feel or experience it, but it's not to be pursued. I'm here for purpose, and purpose will mean sadness, doubt, fear, joy, happiness, and peace at any given moment. After all, the journey is the destination. And I
Mm,
loved the image of a smiling Black man, a
mm.
happy, laughing Black man. That representation is just as important as the songs and the poems and the things that we do. We've got to uplift ourselves if nobody else is going to do it for us.
That's right. That's right. And when you know about yourself, like we would say, knowledge yourself or know thyself, you have that certain confidence in yourself when you know where you come from, what you've been, and you have an outlook on life of where you want to be. No woman really wants to be a man with no be with a man that doesn't have any type of idea, any type of future, any type of even thinking progressive. Uh, no, I shouldn't say no woman. I say no progressive sister would want to be because you always find somebody for every like the phrase
Giving
go. There's somebody for everybody, but progression. It
her
all
number
depends
out
on
at the gas station. Uh-huh.
look. But even like I think it's this Troy Whitehead when he says, I mean, even when I was a teen and in my early 20s, I always went after the ladies that can hold a real discussion. There's a stat about our people. We supposedly only read 3.5 books a year. I have that with two different audio books and apps. So again, it's that initial request. But when we talk about self love, it always talks about self worth. What do you think that you're
Mhm.
worth? So my grandma used to say, "You are who you hang around." So it
Oh
always
yeah.
kept me watching. It always kept me watching who I was hanging around. So that's gonna depict or determine even the type of mate that you choose to give your time to, or the opposite sex that you give your time to. So it's all about self worth. What do you love about yourself? You can't go into a relationship loving somebody else more than you love yourself. The first law of
I gotta
nature
look at
is
Honey Child's
self-regulation.
quote. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm going to look at Honey Child's quote here. She's saying, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. You definitely have to have that strength and courage for yourself, too. You have to
Mm.
be able to say that. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. It's a long quote to
Mm.
Black Lives. And once you have that sense of self worth, once you have that sense that you can do anything, you can live through anything for yourself, you've gained it for yourself, you're able to then, I can't think of the word, you're able to, glow in that love you have for yourself and exude, that's the word, exude that so that others can see it. And
Hmm.
that's what'll make you attractive to others. And of course, the great Maya Angelou, her poem Phenomenal Woman. I
Hmm.
saw her do that live.
Oh
I was so
wow.
lucky to do that. I saw Maya Angelou perform that poem live, and I was on the verge of tears because she was so happy and she was so
Mm.
expressive when she was performing. She performed that poem, the stars between my thighs. I mean, oh, she was so good. I
The
was so, I
star.
still remember it. So that she was always trying to be that encouraging. She was always trying to tell Black women. And I know a lot of people will say it's hard to find where I was hard pressed in my research for this show to
Okay.
find any websites or books that address self love for men and Black
Mm.
men, especially. Like, I was hard pressed to find books that were about men finding self worth, men finding self esteem. I know that a lot of the time we have to build up women and especially Black women, but at the same time, everyone deserves that opportunity to find their self-esteem, to build up their sense of self-worth.
Right.
So that's where it comes from. And Ruka, what have you found in your experience? What are some ways that Black men can have their self-love?
It goes back to that nurturing. I mean, and them having a full knowledge of self, because every man wants to be the ruler of his household. Every man wants to lead. Every man wants to be, as brother put in the chat, an alpha male. But some of us just aren't that. So you have to find out what you're good at. What I've seen You know, when I go to these classes and stuff that we go to in the nation, where we have like our all men's class, and I see these different men throughout the year that may lack confidence. A lot of them is just that they don't have anything that they look at that's valuable to them, you know. So they don't have any outlook on life, so they just do what they think is right, you know. So
Mhm.
how we combat that is with giving them love, showing them compassion, being there for them, showing them some type of commitment, because these are the things that break them down to where they don't have confidence in themselves. They never been committed to nothing. They don't know how to strengthen anything. So that's how we've been dealing with it. I can't say that there's one way that's going to be the right way, but that's just how
Mhm.
we've been dealing with it. And we've been seeing successes at it as far as the nation in 90 years in dealing with these relationship issues.
I think men in general, like I said, I know we have a diverse hip hop citizenry. We don't
Right,
want you to feel like only Black love is important because for
right.
some reason we need to say that all lives matter. They do. We're just focused on the Black ones right now. It is important for all men to look and find their sense of self worth, define
Mhm.
their sense of self esteem, because then, like you said, it goes back to how are you going to love somebody else if you are not right within yourself? So can
Right.
you really express healthy love to someone else if you don't have that relationship with yourself first?
Mhm.
And I want men to feel like they can express self-love, whatever that manifests itself at. If you need to
Mhm.
take an hour for video games, 1 hour. If you need
Only 1 hour? We just
1 hour, hurry up and
that's
kill everybody on Call of Duty and then get
it.
off. If you need to go get yourself an ice cream cone, if you need to go sit in the library or Barnes and Noble for a couple hours by yourself with the phone off, express your self love to yourself first. And like I said, you will exude that attractiveness, that confidence, that glow of love that'll attract that to you. And I think, men should not think that it's all touchy feely and frou frou. We're not telling you to go get those diamond cream facials with the cucumbers if that's not your thing, but find a way to love yourself, because that will
Right.
make love come from you and it'll benefit everybody, the community, your relationships, your world that you've created for yourself. I think that's important. Juan, give me the high sign if you're on the boards right now. um,
And you know, and
I,
Diva, they also got to have those support groups that's like that. You got to hang around other men who are trying to build each other up, you know, and
Thank
where,
you. I want
where y'all
that.
can talk about, the different things that y'all going through in your relationship. You know, you got to men have to learn how to communicate. You got to it's all about communication, even in building yourself up. You got to know how to express yourself without feeling weak, you know. And we put that machoism sign up all the time, but we're not really macho all the time. So you got to have those support groups where you feel comfortable and talking to other men about your issues and problems and see how it works. Now you can't be like, say, if I'm married and I got 4 single homeboys, they can't tell me how this works. I got to have all my
Yeah.
4 single homeboys got to be married so we can you know what I'm saying, because we got another
Yeah.
dynamic involved, which is a grown woman. So
Yeah, I mean, don't
so
hate on the single people now. Just, we need
no,
we need
no,
that interaction too.
right, absolutely. But we were talking about relationships, so I'm sticking
Right,
with those
right, right.
who are in them. But even for single people, you got to have those support groups. What are y'all seeing out there? You know, how are men
Yeah.
coming at you? How have you corrected that behavior? He may not. I mean, he may have came at me wrong, but he is a good dude. You know, once I got a chance to get to talk to him and this and all that, and he told me about
Yeah.
this and his mama and that, and this is how we built it up. Even the single sisters and single brothers need those type of support groups. Um, so you can build your confidence with each other, and so you can cohabitate with each other.
So right here on the screen, thank you for putting this up on the board, is a mug expressing Black girl magic. So this is
Right.
another phrase that came into being in 2013. I discovered Kashawn Thompson popularized the hashtag Black Girl Magic movement. In doing
Hmm.
so, she created a movement to celebrate the beauty and resilience of what a Black woman goes through. Now, again,
Hmm.
I know we're diverse citizenry, but we're talking to this because Black women feel like they're at the bottom of the totem pole in
Hmm.
regards to the attention and love and support that they get. So she created this hashtag in 2013. Another one that came along is Black Boy Joy, and this mug is an example to me of how somehow it got monetized, and I don't know if that takes away from it. Well, she wanted to say it as something encouraging, and there's a statement that she wrote underneath this tag. Shout out to the person who posted it. I'm trying to find it so I can read it.
I never.
Because there's a statement that she wrote underneath this, the girl who took the picture of it. And here it goes. So she said, I never really understood what it meant to be a Black person until 3 years ago. Being the only Black person invited to an event, the only one in an establishment, or the only person shopping in a large grocery store, it all felt different because back home you were either Nigerian or from another country. There was really no categorization in terms of race and color. So it was quite difficult to understand initially. I'm going to go down here to the bottom where she says being Black is about resilience, innovation, creativity, and excellence, even in the face of struggle. And she said she learned that about herself, and she's holding up her mug that says Black Girl Magic. That may have been encouraging to her. That may have been just what she needed in that moment. I mean, I'm not a big fan of platitudes, but whatever helps you, helps you. And this was something that they came in with. And since women can't have nothing, somebody came up with Black Boy Joy.
Oh, wow.
I think this rapper even made, a song about that because he wanted to show it, and it was an example. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Absolutely. Like I said, when I see a picture of a smiling brother or someone who's happy and laughing, not just the tough prison poses, that's interesting too. Smile. Some guys have beautiful teeth and smiles. Why not show that off?
It all goes back to that confidence thing, do I like the way I look? Do I like the way my mama look? Do I like the way my grandma look? Because we're getting into it's a whole nother issue on beauty, on how they project what's beautiful to us. All this is playing with our psyche, and it's messing with our relationships.
And I think that goes to a lot of, situations too, because is it more than just t-shirt slogans, mugs, and Instagram platitudes? Because I know we have another picture where everything's about like t-shirts, everything's a slogan now. Melanin, hot girl, Black, proud, and strong, all those kind of things. And I understand that it's to get that message out there, to reinforce all the time that you are worthy, you are special, you are smart, loved, and important. And one person who's pushing back on that is Taraji P. Henson. And I was surprised, Taraji plays Cookie. She's done iconic movie roles. She's just an all around, badass girl. But she was saying she doesn't like the idea of Black Girl Magic anymore because she thinks it trivializes. There was this article on BuzzFeed.com where I got it from, where she was being interviewed. So I'm sure if you put in BuzzFeed and search for Taraji P. Henson, you'll see the article come up. And she was saying that Black Girl Magic made us sound like witches or something ethereal that she didn't think was empowering to us as it started out. She thought it was something that was trivializing, that was making it seem like we're exotic or something like that. Next slide, board. And she didn't like that idea, but she can have that opinion. Like I said, these are my views. I think it's great to have that because it's trying to reinforce the idea that those things are important to remember about yourself. Carrie Hilson, Black Girls Rock. Now Black Girls Rock is a TV show or an award show that celebrates Black girls, their achievements, their rewards, things that they want to celebrate. Because like you were saying earlier, where else are they getting that? Where else are they getting that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement about themselves?
Right. So now they commercialize off of reinforcing Black women.
Unfortunately.
That's what it looks like, and they're not getting paid for it at all. So it's like I was saying earlier, I mean, we got to watch out for stuff like that because we have these predators in our community that look to make profit off of our pain. And, we lift up our girls, we push up our women, we put them in the forefront. They're doing that because they know that there's a lack of that coming from their own man on lifting them up, putting them up, giving them that support, even in marriages and even in relationships. That's why I was talking about that dynamic of that male-female relationship dynamic with communication. The men have to know how to uplift their women. The women have to know how to encourage their women. The men have to know, this has to continuously go. But since they know that we're lacking that in our community, then those who are predators to our community are preying on that and commercializing off of it.
I mean, some of us are doing it ourselves. See, like, Black-owned T-shirt owners, or they're doing it on Teespring, and they have good intentions. They want to put out those, shirts that say Melanin Goddess and make a little money and encourage sisters. And I have no problem with that. But like you said, does commodifying it trivialize the message? I don't know. It's a dichotomy there. To think about it. And the thing is, because it's female empowerment, mostly is female empowerment, is that a threat? because then the little bit of pushback, there are little pocket communities. Like I said, I was doing the research. There are actually men that think that it's emasculating for women to hold themselves up, and they feel that's a threat and that it's not okay.
Yeah, that thought process causes division. That's not a unified thought process. I mean, I know I wouldn't want to be with a sister who can't think and do for herself and can't hold her own. That makes it more attractive to me. But again, it all depends on the type of male. So yeah, if she whatever the highest accolade and whatever human endeavor that she wants to reach, she should be able to reach that. But I don't ever think that that's a threat to my male masculinity. That's all. That's somebody who needs to be taught knowledge of self and his own confidence.
It was disheartening to see, that that's the kind of thing that's out there, that there's still people thinking that, oh, if a woman loves herself or says no to you, that you're uppity. I hope Lisa didn't get cussed out, because I've been cussed out for turning somebody down. I've been told, you're not cute enough to have an attitude.
Oh wow.
First of all, what was the attitude? I'm like, just because I'm expressing myself in complete sentences and
Wow.
using, polysyllabic words, I've had my friends, talked down to or nagged, as they say in some communities, because she said no and wanted to go on with her day. And she didn't want to be worn down like Urkel. She didn't want to be chased around the bar. I'm just, I don't know. It was disheartening to see that if you do express that self-love and confidence, you're considered uppity, you're considered stuck up, you're considered, difficult. There's still that contingent of men that think like that in general, not even just black men, but
Yeah.
because I'm black, that's who I see it from.
I want my way. I'm doing this for about myself. And if you tell me no, you can't tell me no. I'm the king. What you talking about? You do exactly what I tell
you. And I'll be like, okay, king, go sit on your throne. I'm gonna be over here. Really, and Lisa, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, that's what we contend with as women. One minute you want us at the gas station, and the minute I say no, or I start to get in my car, well, ain't nobody want you anyway, fucking bitch. I'm like, is your mama here? Like, who are you talking to?
Right.
Because of my addiction. Because of my addiction, I'm considered bougie. I'll be bougie if it means I don't have to deal with you.
Right.
Leave me alone. Let me be bougie over here by myself.
Right. He don't want you to have standards. That's all that is. He wants somebody who can do whatever he want to do with. That's just what we're dealing with. But I hate how many. I mean, the sisters are harassed all the time. Gas stations, grocery stores, toy stores. Wherever you go, somebody's trying to harass the sister. So I feel for you. I pray for y'all all the time.
Yeah, pray for us. Keep talking to the brothers in your neighborhood. Keep talking to them. Don't be rolling up on chicks at the gas station. Tell them, Ruku. Please tell them. I mean, I tend to subscribe to Eastern philosophies when it comes to ideas of spirituality. I really enjoy Lao Tzu and Confucius and even Sun Tzu, Art of War. I like that stuff. And with them, the feeling is that you look inside yourself first for answers, and then you find something outside of yourself that complements your own self-opinion. So once you are good within yourself, you're able to find what complements you. And that's another definition of love. I'm like, okay, now that I love myself, let me find somebody who complements my life.
Right. That's right.
You were talking about self-esteem earlier, Ruku. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying that makes a lot of sense. That's what you should do. That's the logical way of thinking.
Let's see, how can I say this succinctly? Well, like I said, I do a lot of research for these shows, and that's why we do a lot of talking and interacting. We want you guys, you're having a great discussion in the chat. I can't see it because I'm on the computer and doing the show, but I'm happy that you guys are enjoying it. I hope you'll share it. Share the stream now. If you think somebody will enjoy the discussion, go ahead and hit them with the replay once we're off air. We want to thank our producer on the board. I think we've switched over to Don Juan the Mac, doing his best with his 5-month-old in the background. So wow. Yeah, so she's demanding, but she's adorable.
See, he needs to be on the show. Y'all need to see that example. This brother running the show in the back, got his baby, got his wife in the other room. I mean,
so, yeah, don't blow his head up. Don't blow his head up. Do not blow his head up. So one of the websites that I like going on is under jstor.org. It's JSTOR.org. And I do a lot of research on there, find some great articles. And it's a journal that a lot of scholars and sociologists use to post white papers on. And one of the papers was Self-Perceptions of Black Americans, Self-Esteem and Personal Efficacy. And it was written by Michael Hughes and David H. Demo. This is from July 1989 in the American Journal of Sociology, but I thought it was, I'm going to try to get through this first article because the study examined determinants of personal self-esteem, racial self-esteem, and personal efficacy. And I didn't write down the definition of efficacy, but it's important. I think it's the expectation of seeing the results of your work. If anybody wants to look that up and put it in the comment section for me.
Right. To see how effective you are. That's right.
Okay, thank you, Ruka. I appreciate you. That's why you're co-host, so you can help me out. Yeah, we like a knowledgeable brother. In 1980, there was a national sample of Black Americans that they did the study with. And the findings were showing that the 3 dimensions that are interrelated to each is anchored in interpersonal relations with family and friends. However, the 3 dimensions that are produced are produced by fundamentally different processes. So basically they were saying personal self-esteem is most strongly influenced by micro-social relations with family, friends, like you said, the people you hang out with in your community, while personal efficacy is generated through experiences in social statuses embedded in macro social systems of social inequality. So your macro system would be work, school, going out and dealing with strangers, going out in your own world. Now, the conclusion the researchers came to is that Black self-esteem is insulated from symptoms of racial inequality, but the personal efficacy, here it is, the ability to produce a desired or intended result is not insulated. And so they wanted to suggest that this explains why Black Americans have relatively high self-esteem, but low personal efficacy. And the belief that racial discrimination, rather than individual failure, accounts for low achievement among Blacks, it's irrelevant to personal self-esteem and personal efficacy. In contrast, racial self-esteem is produced by a combination of education, interracial contact, and ideological processes. Now, I know that was a lot of reading. Hope nobody fell asleep. But it basically boils down to the study that they did with the Black Americans in 1980 showed that we love ourselves. We love us from us, and we can have high self-esteem. But when it comes to the idea that we will then use that self-esteem to bring about changes and results in our lives, it seems to be low. Like we know we love ourselves, but for some reason we can't act on it.
Right.
And what do you say?
I say it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's those steps. It's knowing what to do to bring that about. You gotta have someone to talk to. It's just that open communication of how do we get to this next step. That's just like school. I mean, you can't graduate unless you complete the 1st through 11 grades. So it's building blocks. So you can't expect someone to, okay, I'm grown, I'm here now, I should know what to do. I mean, I may be successful in certain areas in my work field, but then when it comes to this relationship thing, I can't make it happen. I just don't, because I don't even know how. No one's ever taught me how. All I know, I need to go to school, I need to be educated, I need to make some money, I need to be able to take care of a family financially. But then you see that it's more to it than financially. So I struggle with it because I've never been taught. It goes back to those things.
Right.
Our Black men and women who know how, and now when we putting out the word, we having a conversation like this, that means it's a problem. That means that we need y'all that know how to do it. Don't sit back and just blog and type. You got to come in and educate us on how you did it your way and how it happened your way, so everybody can see the different ways of it, because there is no one way to this. There is no one way of this, but there are some habits, some positive habits that we can take away from that can build those relationships. So that's what it is about that.
I think it's a collective experience that we have as Black people that let us know how we interact with each other. And then based off of that collective experience and background, we know how we want to be loved. We know how to talk to each other and things like that. But then when it boils down to you as a person, like they said, the Assalamu alaikum, Ahmad, we want to have in our micro social relationships, our family, our friends, those people around us, we want to make sure that we're loving on each other, that we're loving on ourselves, that, it's okay to love on each other, check-ins and brunches together and texts in the middle of the day. And, Honey Child still with us. What's she saying? 2020 is bringing back the moments when Malcolm X was alive. It is such a depressing fact due to the fact that there is a pandemic going on at the same time. These are the worst times in history. Oh, well, I know the awakening is taking place during the pandemic, and it's hard because now we can't go out and practice it. We can't go out and get together regularly like we should, like Ruku is saying, maybe have our support groups meet together in coffee houses and things like that. But we can still use the tools at our disposal to get in touch with each other and make sure that, we are still expressing those thoughts and opinions and getting the word out, whether it's about our protests and our actions and things like that. Still trying to get justice for Breonna Taylor. Her killers still have not been arrested. So make sure you
Right.
call the AG in Kentucky and ask him what's up.
Right.
But we are still trying to get in touch with each other and check in. So make sure you take advantage of the technology, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, just texting, and check in with each other and make sure that we're all good. So
And
what's
just
your
think,
question,
and
Ron?
just right, and just think about this though. I mean, you know, like domestic violence is going up during the COVID-19 thing because now you
It
got to
did.
deal with each other. So shows like this are very important that we sit around and we talk about this because you can get some instant change, some instant gratification if you're dealing with a relationship, a toxic relationship that you're in right now, and you need somebody to talk to before you call 911 and somebody gets shot from a rookie cop, and then we be doing something else when y'all could have just worked that out. So you
Yeah.
know, everybody on here, make sure you share. Make sure you like, make sure you continue to share, you know, encourage everyone else to share so we can keep having this type of dialogue because this is going to help our community out. We can get 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 people on here easily to deal with this type of subject. We can, and if it solves 5 families, we've done our job. If it solves 1 family, we've done our job, you know, to get you thinking in that positive direction so you won't, you know, take out the gun and want to murder somebody or the sister want to pick up the glass and throw it at the brother because he ain't doing right. You know, he
Yeah.
doing, you know, he doing some side hustling things, even during COVID. He got a whole nother phone on his Instagram somewhere else trying to be slick. You know what I'm
A
talking
whole
about?
other life going on. No,
So
it's true. I don't want to make it sound like I'm a man hater or I'm saying only women are good and all men are bad. No, this applies. This advice that you're hearing, the discussion that we're having applies to both sides. Like Steve was saying earlier, I don't know if he's still with us. It's vice versa. Absolutely. You know, men should be encouraged. Men should be talking to each other. Women should not be driving them crazy or
right,
cussing them out or calling them out their name.
right.
I don't condone that either because it's not necessary. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Isn't that the golden rule? We got it from somewhere.
That's
So
right. That's right.
that's a basic thing. Treat people how you want to be treated and then go from there. So no,
Mhm.
women shouldn't be acting a fool either, just like men shouldn't be, you know, rolling up on you and cussing you out because you don't want to go on a date. Women, if a man says no, just walk away.
That's it.
Like, why are you gonna try to chase him around the bar or cuss him out or call him, tell him he has a small penis in front of his friends because he don't want to be with you? Like, don't do that. Don't make us look bad. So we want to make sure we continue to have these discussions with each other. We know we're going into our second hour, and we appreciate everybody sticking with us. This is live stream on Hip Hop Citizen, and we're having a really good discussion about where is the Black love? Where is it? How can we encourage
Where
it,
is the
foster it?
black love?
How do we foster it with each other? And oh, honey child, thank you for sharing. I saw that you said you have a whole other account so you can share. So we appreciate you. And everybody else, we encourage you to like, share, subscribe, and follow. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We have our page where I think we're live streaming on Periscope. You can catch us on Twitter. Anywhere that you want to encourage anybody to check out this show. This is the Sunday Special Report. I'm Diva Views. These are my views. And that's why we're tuning in. We also want you to also have the discussion, just like everybody was dragging me for not liking The Notebook. This is a place for us to have a discussion and disagree, come together and agree, but do it in a respectful manner. Next thing we're going to talk about is love for brothers and sisters. So Ruku, this is another one where I'm having some trouble reconciling. Because it goes back to how do we talk to each other? Now, how do we interact in our macro social relationships? If you are trying to talk to a young lady or holler at a young brother, like, how do we talk to each other? And I know one person on YouTube, I'm on YouTube all the time, a brother named Derek Jackson. And I don't know if anybody knows him. He's a guy that gets on the short form videos and he basically talks to the women and kind of like, he drops dime on guys all the time, and all his videos titles are like, you know, why he doesn't want you, why he's using you, why you should dump him, all this kind of thing. And he's trying to like drop gems. And of course, all the men hate him, all the women love him. He was addressing a tweet or a viral video talking to women directly and breaking down some of the issues with it. Now, he wants to talk to the sisters in a way that's encouraging, uplifting. You're hearing this from a man, and, you know, you should be okay with that. And the image we have on the screen, like I said, is another one from Museum of Black Love Art on Facebook. We love it. We love to see it. But one thing I want to look at is the message that went with this image, because the person who posted the image and the art also had this to say. They said, this is the artist saying, as I was cleaning up the sketch, the more I realized I didn't like it. Real love is messy, and due to our sinful nature, it's imperfect. I don't want to portray an edited love. There's beauty in the struggle, and Black love is not exempt from this rule, even in fact may amplify it even more. love yours. So they were saying that it can be messy. It's okay for it to be messy, but the love should be overarching and how we interact with each other as well. And one thing, since we're in hip hop, this is Hip Hop Citizen. What always troubles me, even though I love hip hop and rap and all the things of the golden age, what always bothered me is that if I'm your queen, if I'm your sister, how am I a bitch in your favorite song? How do we reconcile that? Can it be reconciled? Like, should we be okay with it? Ruku, what are your thoughts as an artist and a member of the community?
Well, I mean, we shouldn't accept it if that's not what it is. That you shouldn't accept that at all. It became famous because it was accepted, and no one challenged it from the beginning of us demeaning our women, demeaning our sisters to make millions and millions of dollars. We basically became millionaires and billionaires off of demeaning our women and being glamorized as pimps and hustlers, and we're always getting over and we're always winning. I don't talk about any of that type of stuff. I mean, I'm always trying to uplift our community, period. But if the sisters would just stand up and unify like they're doing in the streets, how we're doing this, and say, we're not even going to listen to it. I can't say it's the sisters, but just our community, period. I can't just put it all on the sisters, just everyone in the community. If you just want to change it and elevate that type of hip hop to make it more effective and of a more conscious and educated type of hip hop, then there's got to be some boundaries that we set on the radio stations. That's where it's going to go.
Troy, thank you so much for sharing. And Honey Child, I am not privy to the subscriber count right now, but help boost it. Is that good enough? We don't have our subscriber account in front of us, but you can help us boost it. And thanks to you guys for sharing the stream. I know it's a long show tonight, but we had so much that we wanted to touch on. I'm going to try to do shorter shows and do less research, I promise. But there's so much to talk about that I wanted to touch on. We need our songs, like you said, to be saying positive things about how we love each other and ourselves. And listen, there are the songs that are out there, just like we said earlier. You're All I Need by Mary and Method Man. There are positive depictions in that song as well. Method Man is talking about somebody holding him down. He wants thousands of kids, and he's expressing his love his way. And there is love in that, love in the video, love in the song. And that's for you stay in your lane. If that's your lane and that's your love, let that be your definition. Beautiful by Pharrell, love me some Pharrell falsetto. Brown Skin, like I said, India.Arie. The Roots, You Got Me. Now, that's how I discovered The Roots myself. Of course, it was a top 40 hit with Eve and Erykah Badu, and Jill Scott performs it as well. So shout out to her. That song is a love letter to a relationship. Black Thought, great lyricist. He is expressing his enjoyment, what he got out of the relationship. And even though in the story of the song, he was saying things fall apart, he was expressing what he loved about that relationship and the woman he was in the relationship with. So I really enjoyed that. Also, Salt and Pepper, What a Man. With En Vogue, everybody remembers the video. They were saying, you know what a man. We are celebrating these brothers. They were all big and buff. Everybody's in the bathtub. Everybody's in their outfits. What a Man. And of course, Angie Stone, Brother. And that came out at a great time. She wanted to talk to every brother in jail, on the block. Every brother needed to know that they were loved. Gary, Queen Latifah, UNITY, absolutely. Oh, Cannabis Concierge. Okay, damn fine work getting this to show on people's radar. Thank you. Honey Child's out there doing work, Ruku. She's letting people know.
Good. That's what it's all
you guys
about.
for tuning in.
Like.
Yeah. Like, share, follow, subscribe. This is Hip Hop Citizen live stream. We've got an international audience. You guys out there in Hiroshima, in Kenya, Nairobi. We want you guys to appreciate what we're talking about as well. I'm sure it's applicable in your communities, just like it would be in a Black American community or any other. So we appreciate you sticking with us. If the board can put up the Malcolm X quote, the first one. So Malcolm X is still an appreciated brother. And he's saying the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. So guess what? We're going to talk about Black women for a minute. Recently, Megan Thee Stallion, we all know the story, was involved in a violent altercation, and she was hurt. And one of the tweets that she put out after the incident, what was going on was that she wasn't getting a lot of sympathy. She was getting clowned. She was getting drugged. Like people were making memes and making fun of her and, talking about how she shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. It was almost like a victim blame.
Wow.
And she was hurt. She was one of
Right.
her first tweets after the incident. She didn't even have a chance to sit and rest. And she was
Mhm.
like, "Look, I'm hurt. I'm traumatized. My feelings are hurt when you guys talk about it." She was being expressive. "My feelings are hurt that you're talking about me like this." And
Mhm.
then one of the last tweets I saw her touching on this was, "Black women are so unprotected, and we hold so many things in to protect the feelings of others without considering our own. It might be funny to y'all on the internet and just another messy topic for you to
Mhm.
talk about, but this is my real life, and I'm real life hurt and traumatized." That is what she was saying about that. And another incident that's been going on in the news that I've been following is a sister in Long Island. She's been harassed by her neighbors since she moved into that neighborhood. It was a predominantly white neighborhood, and they
Mhm.
were unhappy that as a Black single mother, she managed to afford a home there and moved in with her child. She said a few months after she moved in, she started finding feces in her front yard,
Oh,
dead
wow.
squirrels on her porch.
Mm.
She started putting up security cameras, looking out for herself. So good job for her. But on her security cameras, when she would run back to film, she would see recognizably her white neighbor sitting in her backyard with a shotgun or
Wow.
walking around the side of her house or just, on her property with impunity and harassing her and letting her know that she basically didn't belong there. So what she started doing, you can find this article on revolt.tv.
Mm.
Under the article search, Black woman harassed by neighbors in Long Island. I don't know if anybody else is familiar with the story. Like I said, revolt.tv. And eventually, what she did, because she did tell the police, of course, and of course, they said they cannot do anything until she is actually harmed. This is what they told her. She filed a report, she
Mm.
started the paperwork. And I know it's true because I've heard that before in other situations with other friends. They are not protectors. They enforce law, they protect property and control bodies. They enforce laws and they investigate the broken ones. So they told her they were under no obligation to come help her. So she
Mm.
started putting the list of things that was happening to her on her front door. Just giant, like, school paper where you can write really big on the lines. I don't know if anybody remembers that from school.
Mhm.
Thank you for letting me know. So I got that message. So she is saying that, nobody was helping her and nobody cared. Well, eventually one man showed up to her front door to say he was going to sit outside and help her.
Oh,
When
boy.
that black man, an armed black man, showed up to her neighborhood, then the police came out.
I bet. It's serious now. But see, but
I, I
that's what they have to see though. They have to see that type of relationship that we will protect our sisters and we won't let this continuation, as Malcolm X said, the disrespect of the black woman, the most unprotected black woman, the most neglected black woman in history. And so we have those stereotypes set up in different communities on how they view us from our community. One wise man told me that you judge a nation by how it treats its female. So
Mhm.
if the wise of this world judge our nations on how we treat our female, well, what are we projecting about our female? This is why Megan Thee Stallion was getting all of this backlash by the image that she portrays. So they say, "Oh, this is
Mhm.
what you want. This is what you say you talk about. This is the lifestyle you lead." But now, no, you real, you human. So you really telling me that this is Hollywood that you doing? That ain't what you've been
Yeah.
telling me. We keep saying hip hop is real. You see what I'm saying? So
Right. Yep.
now we messing with the young people's minds because either it's
Yep.
real or it's fake. So yeah,
The
that's
board has the next Malcolm X quote. I'd love to see that. He is fine. The next Malcolm X quote that we have, I'm like, okay, looking like Michael Ealy, that we have up here is the black man will never get anybody's respect until he first learns to respect his own women. And I
That's
mean, he was making such good points. I don't know much about him and his life because I didn't grow up in a Black Power family. So I wasn't taught this history. I don't know everybody's, background about this stuff. But this just makes so much sense. And yet, men don't feel like it's their problem because we're empowered now, because we've got self-esteem and self-confidence. They feel like, okay, well, do you? I don't have to worry about it. You got yourself. This is where the idea of burn the cape is coming from. And
burn
I
the
know you have to
cape.
leave this in a couple of minutes, but we're just going to talk about this. So burn the cape is a movement that is hashtag divest Black women. There is
Mm,
definitely a community of Black women that is rising up and having their voices heard that say, you know what? We're tired of being failed by those that they fight for, so Black women are pledging to burn the cape. Now, the cape, of course, is when you swoop in and feel that you're here to save the day. Dun, da, da. Black women are feeling like they're always putting their bodies out there, their lives, their souls for everybody else, and nobody's looking out for them. And one person on Twitter that made that point was speaking to the Kanye situation, because she was saying the reason Kanye is able to keep his Black audience is because they are, one, delusional, and two, he only goes after Black women rather than the men. The Black community has shown us time and time again, Black women don't matter or are deserving of respect. She also wanted to say that the fact that Kanye is a Black man and allows people to excuse his behavior, you guys really think a Black girl married to a white man who constantly steals from Black men would be able to disrespect important Black figures so openly and keep her audience? So they're saying, you know what? I'm tired of having to put myself out there, protesting for George Floyd, getting harassed even at the protest. Black men are harassing them. The police are beating them. Their communities are not looking out for them. And they're saying, you know what? No more.
Right.
And I've read the forums. I've seen the tweets. That's something new to me. I didn't know that was coming. So, Ruku, what are your thoughts before you have to leave us?
Well, it goes back to what Malcolm X said. I mean, I can relate with him because I got some of the same training that, you got to respect and protect your Black woman at all costs. I mean, you have to, because this is what builds the respect of other nations and other communities and things of that nature. If we don't come to protect her, who will? Especially when we know the history behind this. So it's for me, I've been raised up in that. And I've been doing it like it, but I can't go back to when I wasn't like that and how I thought about Black women and how the view was of me growing up of how to be a predator to them. So I can understand the evolution, but we got to get back in there and train these soldiers to get this.
Yeah.
But we're getting it, and you're starting to see that, because as you see on any of these movements that we have, it's all the Black women that are leading these movements. All of these movements are led by Black women, and so if there is not a man to protect her, what do you think she's going to produce? She's going to produce the man that will protect her. Because when you see these strong men that stand up, they all come from strong women.
And they seem to forget that. You came from a Black woman, but all of a sudden we're not shit once you're over us. I've never understood that. And I empathize. I understand burning the cape, and I see you, honey child. Ruku's going to dip out in a second, but I understand that they're tired of being tired, but I hate, it's disheartening to think that this is what it's come to. That women are so tired now. They're just like, you know what? Forget it. If y'all aren't going to cape for us, we will no longer cape for you.
Yeah, that's a sad situation. Yeah, it's a sad situation. But I tell you, sister, just endure, hang in there. They coming. They getting trained. They getting trained.
Well, how long is it going to be?
It may not be that long. You seeing the signs now. Like you said, you seen a Black man came over there to help out. You start to see more Black men looking out for women that are getting pulled over by the police. You start to see this NFA,
NFAC, yeah.
Right. And you start to see different groups out there. So it's happening. There is some type of knowledge as it's a real conscious movement going on, as you say. And in that conscious movement, no matter what level of consciousness that they're in, there has to be some type of respect for the Black woman in that training of thought. So you start to see those things starting to happen all over our community. So I can't say how long or how been, but the more that we receive pressure from outside communities, the more that they're going to see the pressure coming from inside of our community, because the men are going to step up.
Ruku, we have appreciated having you with us. I know you didn't expect to be on the live stream this long, but we appreciate your thoughts and everybody. This is at The Real Ruku. He is a Dallas resident and a frequent guest on Friday Night Live. He's an artist, a father, a husband, a member of the Nation of Islam. He has dropped real knowledge with us here tonight. We have really enjoyed this discussion. And Ruku, where can the people find you?
You can find me at The Real Ruku on Instagram. You can find me at Al Shahid on Twitter, and then you can find me at Shahid or The Real Ruku on Facebook. And just tune in. You can ask questions, anything that you want to hear from me. You can email me at alshahid11@gmail.com, or you can call us at 214-421-4848 and push number 1 to get to me, and we can discuss some issues, some problems, and we can see if we can work it out. But I'm an open book, and I pray that that we drop some jewels on you that can help you and advance your relationships today. And it was just an honor to be on the show. On its Diva Views, and I pray that she lets me come back again so we can continue this part 2, part 3, part 4.
Of course.
and we'll just see where
Of
it
course,
goes.
we have appreciated you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been At the Real Ruku. Of course, we will have him back. Let him have some love. Go hit him up on Instagram. Take advantage of the community resources that he is offering. That was great that he's willing to do all that. And Ruku, have a great night, and love and blessings to your family.
All right, thank you, sister. Yeah, I enjoy.
We enjoyed having him on here so much. And, I know the show's running long. I know producer's going to be ready to go in just a second, but we have so many good topics to touch on. And you guys have been great having comments in the chat. Gary, I agree. It's really disgusting that the police basically broke it down that sister in Long Island, there was nothing they could do until she was hurt. That's basically what they will tell you to your face. And it's sad, but like I said, at least a brother came through to look out for her. But when he showed up, that's when the police showed up. Now tell me that's not a system that's broken. So I really hate that. And honey child, I know you were trying to get through on the phone and call in again. You've been sharing the chat and I appreciate you for it. Guys, I know you've been hanging tight, enjoying this discussion. I hope you'll tell everybody you enjoyed this discussion on Hip Hop Citizen live stream. We're going to go into the discussion. I'll carry on myself. And Ahmad Parker, thank you so much for coming through. And you're going to share some research material? Great. I love that. I love reading up on these things, informing myself. That's what is going to make this show stand out, is that this is not commentary. This is not drama or tea. This is topical. We're going to come up with different topics every week and talk about how we see them in the vein of hip hop, because they're hip hop adjacent topics. We're going to talk about how our audience may want to discuss them. That's why the show is interactive. If anybody else wants to call in, I'm happy to hear from you. Lisa, Micah, Troy, I see y'all out there. If you want to call in and participate, that is absolutely what this show is for. So we really appreciate it. There's so much that we wanted to go through and go over. There's even an article on the blog site medium.com from a woman whose handle is at Fed Up with Black Men. Why should you, as a Black woman, burn the cape? That's another article that I was researching. And like I said, it's disheartening, but I understand it. I understand why women are feeling like they're tired of caping for people that don't want to do for them on an individual basis. Absolutely. If you feel like you have given your all and you're not getting anything back, if it doesn't feed you, don't water it. And you can do that. But as a people, it's hard to do that. It's hard to divest yourself when you know there's a struggle out there that requires all of us to lift it up. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and we're getting into the home stretch, folks, don't worry, is colorism as an issue again. There was a Bustle article that talked about 5 truths about colorism that I've learned as a Black woman. There's a Instagram page called @darkest.hue that had a great slideshow about systemic light skin privilege. And I enjoyed reading that article. That's @darkest.hue. or @darkesthue on Instagram. And they are very insular. They're very protective of it being a safe space for dark-skinned women. And, oh, you cooking? What we having? They were very, adamant about making sure that was a space for darker skinned women, brown skinned women to feel that they could talk about their issues, talk about their experiences. And I appreciate those spaces being for those people. So you try not to be intrusive to that. Colorism has reared its head also in partner preferences, because the research we'll get into later is about, light skin and racially ambiguous for Black men. And it seems like Black women should take anybody. And the colorism comes into it because I'm going to go back and talk about 50 Cent and Lil Wayne and the podcast they had where Lil Wayne was talking to 50, and out of nowhere, he wanted to talk about how, bitter and angry Black women are, and that's why he prefers to date outside his race. And the exact quote was, they get mad, they get angry. You see a lot of sisters go, you fuck with this kind of girl and that kind of girl. That shit is exotic. That shit look a lot different than the shit you see in the neighborhood all the time. That shit looked like it came off a boat, said 50 Cent in the video. And I was like, nobody asked him, but he decided to espouse on the idea that he would rather have somebody that looks exotic and foreign and fresh and new, rather than, I guess Lakeisha from the hood. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with Lakeisha either. Like, okay, I understand exoticals and stuff that everybody started saying exoticals, but I'm just like, that's fetishizing those women as well. So when you, as a woman, try to stick up for them, Asian sisters, Middle Eastern sisters, you try to say, stop fetishizing those women. Then they turn around and say, well, shut your bitter ass up. Okay, so now you're just not supposed to say anything? You're just supposed to take it. Okay, eat it up with a spoon. Yum, yum. No, it's not that easy. What needs to happen is other men need to be checking them. They already disregard Black women. So our opinion, us dragging them, us talking about them on Twitter is not going to make a difference. They don't care about our opinion anyway. What needs to happen is that other men need to get in there and do the work. Get down in the trenches and say, look, you're not going to disrespect these women. Should women burn the cape? Are Black women emasculating and always angry and confrontational? I mean, which came first, the disrespect or the bitterness? Like, you can't have one without the other, because we wouldn't be bitter if we weren't disrespected, but you're disrespecting us, so we're bitter. We both have to take accountability. Absolutely, there are women out there that will try you, and it makes men, hard against them. But nobody asked you to say anything about these Black women if you prefer to date outside your race. Don't bring us into it. You can have whoever you want. You can have that preference. That's fine. But leave us out of the conversation. You don't have to say that you had to talk to somebody else because you have to talk to somebody else because Black women did this to you. No, don't bring us into it. That's a choice you made. That's a preference you have. We're just chilling over here by ourselves. Let us be. And the strong Black woman and the stoic Black man that we touched on in the previous shows, those are tropes, those are stereotypes that we need to put aside. That Black boy joy and that feeling of coming out and being happy with yourself, that needs to be what is emulated and normalized. That's what needs to be out there for people to see as representation of who we are. That needs to be what people see instead of the images that are usually out there, like Maury, Jerry Springer, VH1 shows, all the Growing Up With and Love and Something, Black Ink Crew, all the Mona Scott Young produced shows. I'm gonna call her out. Where's the Basketball Wives? Where are the positive representations? Why can't we have Flipping Atlanta? Why can't we have, cooking shows, documentaries, the shows on HGTV? Where is that for us? Why should it only be on the Black networks? Why can't it just be everywhere and accessible to everyone so they can see that we are not just Evelyn Lozada, that we were not just, there for our 6th DNA test, that we are more than that. We are scholarship winners and engineers, scientists, astronauts. There are a lot of positive images out there, and we want to make sure that we depict that on a regular basis. Even Gilbert Arenas', foolery ass, he was dragging Lupita Nyong'o, beautiful sister that was in Black Panther. Wish I had her skin. And he was dragging her because he was like, well, her body's okay, but her face. You can't tell me that she's attractive. Well, now that the movement has started, all of a sudden he's sorry. All of a sudden it's about the community. All of a sudden he realizes he was an idiot and he shouldn't have been saying those things. We'll talk about cancel culture next week. That's our next show that we're coming up with. And I'm going to discuss people like that and whether their apologies are genuine. So tune in for that show as well. Honey Child, I know you're waiting in the green room. If you want to come on and have something to say, we're going to go into our last segment, which is family love and the love that Black families should have. So, Honey Child, what do you want to say?
Hello.
Hi.
Before I leave, I just want to appreciate you for reading the comments that I wrote. And obviously, I do agree on this perspectives that you've been saying about. Yeah, I do agree with them. And I just want to add on some extra points about what's so special about Black love. So I am aware that the story is unique on its own, but the experience as bonded Black Americans is not. So the value of Black life should be apparent to everyone, but we are most securely confirmed in the appreciative embrace of the other without having to censor each other or misunderstand language. We're free in our own home because of the affection and history we share and understand. And that's what's so special about Black love.
That thumbs up, snaps all around. That was gorgeous. You did such a good job. I love that you said that. It just makes perfect sense. That's a great way to sum it up. And I love that you did that. And I love that you're telling your friends. They've been in the comments too. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Are you
I'll
going to stick
continue
around
to
or?
boost your channel.
Thank you. We need it.
I'll make sure to be there on the next one.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, next week I think we're going to talk about cancel culture. So
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic.
that's a good one, and
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with color or anything else. So we're definitely going to just talk about everybody. We're going to be messy next week, so you definitely need to tune in for that. All right, honey child. Any
Yay.
closing remarks you have? Sweetheart?
Hello?
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell us before you head out?
Not really.
Okay. Now, honey
No,
child,
I
I
just
call you
wanted to
honey
come
child
over
as
and say all this.
I call you honey child as a nickname, but is there a name you want us to call you?
No, anything. Like, you can call me Honey Child. It's okay.
Okay, well, you know what? Thank you so much for calling in. Honey Child's calling from the UAE, and I appreciate that so much. So, Honey Child, stick around and make sure you check in with us next week. Honey Child for president.
Gary Sinsky. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Gary's always showing love. He's one of our usual suspects. He's hanging tight with me tonight. So, Honey Child, you go and participate in the comment section and talk to them for a little while, okay?
All right, sure.
Go talk to your constituents. You guys are showing so much love tonight, and I appreciate you hanging with me. Juan, if you need to go or if you need to do anything, let me know, and we can end the show early. We do have a little more that we're talking about right now. You want to give me the high sign? If you need to. Guys, let's give a shout out to Dialect 718, who's the producer in the first half of the show, and Don Juan the Mac, who is on the boards with me right now. These shows seem to have expanded in their scope. At first, we just wanted to do an hour on one or two things and then head out. But as we found more information, as we saw people tuning in and we started getting to more topical information, I wanted to present more research-based things. Hey, Juan, are you good? I wanted to show more research, talk about those things in that purview, put in my spin on things, and then of course get feedback from you guys. We love the phone calls. It seems like Honey Child's the only one that wanted to talk to me. But of course, it's an interactive show, so we're sorry on the playback that it's long, but there was a lot of information to share, and we hope that you guys will share the stream. Like, follow, and subscribe. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, all social media platforms, Twitch. You want to go? Okay. So we're going to wrap up here going into the end of our second hour. We were going to talk about family love. Black families need to be addressed as well. We need to have strong depictions in our community. One Instagram that I wanted to shout out is under the hashtag Strong Black Fathers. There is still not necessarily a stereotype, but the trope, because there is some research behind it, that we are dealing with a lot of single parent female led households. That statistic still holds true. I know we hate it, but it's the truth. It showed research I did, National Review, the Wall Street Journal, NBC News, the Washington Examiner, all this information that I found. The statistics basically are that 70% of households in the Black community are, oh, you meant keep going? Okay. I just want to respect everybody's time because I can talk. So Juan is going to hang with us. Everybody shout out to Juan. So 70% of households in the Black community are female single parents. And in 1991, 68% of Black children were born outside of marriage. Now that's from the National Review. Their article was published April 4th, 1994. In 2011, it went up to 72% of Black babies were born to unmarried mothers. According to NBC, in 2015, 77% of Black babies were born to unmarried mothers. The number is going up. Now, we have to spread the blame. I'm not going to sit here and blame Black men because Black women in this country have choices to make. They have the freedom about whether or not they want to, pursue relationships, if they want to get married. They have reproductive rights. And so to see this number go up, it didn't break down the age groups that I saw in my research, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to guess because I don't want to make that judgment call. But I do have some thoughts about that. To see that number going up is disheartening. Like I said, as of 2015, I think that was the last time we had a census count in that regard. It went up to 77%. Now, as of 2015, it's now saying 77.3%. We had the highest rate of non-marital births among Native Americans, like Americans that are born here. We're not, we haven't emigrated. Now, in 2016, 29% of African Americans were married, while 48% of all Americans were married. So out of everybody, only 29% of the African Americans were married. Also, 50% of African Americans have never been married, in contrast to 33% of all Americans. So you see how this is building up into sort of a negative connotation. The number of Black single mothers in the US between 1990 and 2018 was about 4.04 million. And there were that many with a single mother. This is an increase from 1990. So 1990 through 2018, but the 1990 levels were about 3.4 million of Black families had single mothers. And that's from Statista.com. That's a website that I went to that had like great graphs and charts. Statista.com for those statistics. The other places I'm getting the information is blackdemographics.com. If you go under households and then you go into marriage in Black America, it breaks it down according to Black demographics. It specifically parses out the information for Black Americans. So those were two interesting places that I found the information, and I encourage you, as always, to go and look up the information for yourselves. That's why we put this information out there. It's topical, and we want to back up what we're discussing, because my views are going to be mine, but they are also going to be based on what I've found and made the effort to educate myself about, and then put the information out there. So I hope you guys appreciate it. It's disheartening to see that, but at the same time, Statista also pointed out that there is no strong evidence that single motherhood had different effects on Black children than on white children. So while it is true that single parent households headed by Black females are increasing, we don't have to worry that the effects are different. Well, let me put it this way. The effects are not that different between the races. Yes, there's still evidence that, it's better to have a two-parent household. Yes, there's evidence that, they would do better if they were married and with two parents, and that they should be together. But that goes back to what that person has seen. Like we were talking about earlier in the show, it goes back to what's been communicated to them, the examples that they have in their microsocial and macrosocial communities and interactions. Those are the things that you need to keep in mind. What it comes down to is a lot of nuance and context. That 80% of statistics are wrong. Does anybody get that joke? But when I see that joke, it always makes me, chuckle a little, because yeah, you can spout the statistics all day, but these are people's lived experiences. And so when you look at all those things in a collective sense, that's where the negative connotation comes from. When people see the poverty-driven single-parent households of any race, that's where they see the ills and the problems, but they're not seeing the bigger picture. They are just looking at that one leaf on that tree and saying, well, you know what, this is the problem. But the whole rest of the forest is on fire. I mean, there's, poverty, there's, inner city crime, there's so many other factors that are involved in that person's mental health, that, background, how they interact with people, what is going on in their life that brought them to this point. There are a lot of other things to consider before you start to place blame. So I think those are the things that you want to keep in mind when you're looking at these things. Even when it comes to marriage, in 2010, the Pew Research Center survey, about 4 in 10 Americans said, 39%, that marriage as an institution is becoming obsolete. Nobody thinks that it's important to get married. But back in the 70s, only 28% agreed with that premise. And that is from the Skelly and White survey based on registered voters. Now, the comparable number from the Pew Research survey is 36% of registered voters. So they only surveyed registered voters. So that's important to keep in mind when you're looking at surveys and polls as well. Younger generations are more likely than those ages 50 and older to hold that view that marriage is becoming obsolete. Some 44% of Blacks say marriage is becoming obsolete, compared with 36% of whites. Adults with college degrees are much less likely than those with a high school diploma or less to agree that marriage is becoming obsolete. But do we have any positive depictions in our lives? Do we have any positive depictions of that Black love, that long term marriage that we're looking for? We don't always have to look outside of ourselves, but it's tough because in our communities and in our lives, we may not have those examples. But we want you to continue to look for those examples. We want you to continue to crave that positivity instead of settling for the negativity. And I guess this is just the way it is. Don't do that. Don't settle. Don't do that to yourself. Always continue to crave what you know is out there that is good and try to get those things into your life. Personal efficacy. Make the effort. Next thing we're going to touch on, that's going to go into our last portion of the show. We're almost there, folks. Thanks for running the marathon with me. If you want us to touch on certain topics, you want us to go over certain things, absolutely let us know. In the comments, you can write to us. You can hit us on Hip Hop Citizen, add us on Twitter and Instagram under the post, and let us know if there are other topics you'd like us to touch on. If you think the format needs to be changed, we're always looking for feedback. If you think it should be longer, if you think it should be shorter, it should be a different time, it should be a different night. We're here for you. We're here for our fellow hip hop citizens. So always let us know. Last thing we're going to talk about is interracial love. Do you see it as acceptable or a betrayal? And I was interested in Ruku's information about that. He might go into the chat or he might post comments later to talk about it. But a lot of the time, we go back to Loving versus Loving and talk about how that was the landmark case that made it okay to express interracial love. Now, first of all, interracial love has always been here ever since we've been here. And the miscegenation that took place, the interacting of the races was at one time illegal. Loving versus Loving took care of that. But when I look at that, I kind of look at it, I don't laud it the way other people do, because Mrs. Loving didn't consider herself Black. She considered herself Native American. She never wanted to be called Black. And when I read that information, it kind of like deaded it for me. And you can look up that research yourself, Wikipedia, different articles. I think there are people who made interviews and biographies. Now, she stepped out of the limelight after the case was over. But that's something I found and read about, and I was really surprised. So it's not really a bastion of Black love and the acceptance of interracial love to me, because she didn't accept her race and herself in her place in that race. So I'm just like, okay, the case was landmark, but I'm not going to put you on the pedestal for that. When Black women go in to interracial relationships, they are called race traitors, bed wenches, just straight up hoes for finding love outside of their own race. But Black women should stop being bitter if they point out the men who have done the same thing. Now, Black men marry outside of the race, and then Black women feel less worthy and unwanted, which leads to those feelings of disappointment and anger. You know, I mean, listen, love is love, and I can empathize. And it is not about, marrying a Black person, because I've seen the couples locally. It's not some, out of the way thing that, remember the term, how do you pronounce that? Hiram? That's from our culture, just saying. Heirum. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, Troy. Thank you. You guys keep talking to me. I'm appreciating it. And I hope you guys are enjoying talking to each other in the chat and exchanging information respectfully. Like I said, love is love. I can empathize with the idea that you wanted to stay in your race. You wanted somebody that had a similar background to you. You wanted to make sure that they would understand and be there for you. But then women get to a point where they're like, you know what? I've got to be happy. I have a picture of Eve and her husband. She went out and found her a white billionaire. You're not necessarily going to find a billionaire. There are women who are saying that it's important for them to just want to be loved. And if there's somebody that's willing to love them for that, then they're okay with that. And one sister that, found that love for herself was the Black Bachelorette star, Rachel Lindsay. I think she was the first Black one. She was talking openly about what it's like to be in an interracial couple in 2020 on Access Online. For some reason, Access was coming up. Access Hollywood was coming up on my YouTube feed a lot. And I saw this and knew I had to save it for this show. She says, one of the reasons I was so against dating outside of my race is because I felt like nobody could understand me like a Black man can. And I think that thinking is problematic because I understand me and I get it. So she was saying she was good enough within herself. She did not have to look to someone who was exactly like her to be built up and to feel confident and then to express that love that she had for herself outside of herself. And this is a picture of them in the image on the screen. And she found love on that show. Don't get me started on that show. Harem. Oh, okay. Thank you for the correction. Don't get me started on that show. Bachelorette is so trite and trifling. Of course, I know about it from the clips, and I think I watched it. Did I watch one season in the beginning? It just got to be too like suspend disbelief for that long. I'm like, come on. But she went on there, found love. I believe she married this brother. They were engaged at this time, I think, and they're married now. I think there's 2 couples from those shows that have made it. 2 couples that are still married. The first Bachelorette, I'm pretty sure she's still married to her show. I don't know if anybody can tell me in the comment section. Like I said, that's one reality show I don't follow. But when it came to interracial love, she pointed out that it was okay for her to love who she wanted because she was okay in herself. And it didn't need to be someone in her own race as a requisite. That she found somebody that she loved, that loved her, and that was good for her. But I know a lot of women feel that they feel guilty for dating outside of their race. They are made to feel that they're less worthy, that they're race traitors. You're marrying a colonizer if you do that kind of thing. And I feel bad for them. But we have statistics to kind of back up why it should be okay for them to look for love wherever they can find it. Because among all newlyweds, 18% of Black Americans in 2015 married non-Black spouses. Now, of that 18%, so then break it down. Of that 18%, thank you, board. 24% of all Black male newlyweds in 2015 married outside their race, compared with 12% of Black female newlyweds. So, like I said, if you break down that 24% married outside their race and were men, and 12% of females dated outside their race. That's from the Pew Research Intermarriage in the U.S. 50 Years After Loving versus Virginia. That was published in May 18, 2017. It's also believed that a large percentage of Black men marry white women. This is often cited as one of the causes of lower marriage rates among Black women. Now, listen, correlation does not always equal causation. So because those two things are true does not mean that it's resulting in Black women being married less. Like I said, you've got to look at the context. You've got to look at the nuances and the many factors. But from, I guess, a researcher's standpoint, that plays into it, and that becomes a factor. Now, this is only partially true, as they're saying in the rest of the article. I think this is another one I got from Black Demographics. They're saying that while Black men marry white women at twice the rate that Black women marry white men, in 2017, only 15% of Black men were married to non-Black women, which is up from 11% in 2010. About 3/5, I hate those kind of fractions, of those non-Black women were white. So there is evidence of an increase in Black men marrying out of their racial demographic. And as a matter of fact, the Pew Research Center that I just quoted released a report finding that 25% of Black male newlyweds in 2013 married non-Black women, compared to 12%. That statistic is still 12%. However, it also touched on Asian women and Native Americans still having higher rates of interracial marriage. Black women were the least likely to marry non-Black men at only 7% in 2017, and only 4% of that 7% were married to white men. And like I said, that's from Black Demographics, if you want to look up that information. A lot of women then are saying that the problem becomes they are seen as an experiment. They're seen as somebody you can try out, because then you're dealing with people who are saying, this article I got from the Student Voice of Washington State University by Per Omegon was in 2019. And she said that often, because of her interest in dating men outside of her race, I believe she's Muslim American. Muslim is not a race, but she's Middle Eastern and she identifies as Muslim. She says, I cannot count the number of times I've heard, I've never been with a Black girl before, or you're such a beautiful Black woman, or you're so exotic. While many people outside my race might not find any problem with these statements, the truth of the matter is they are toxic to Black women's self-esteem. The idea of being no more than a fetish is all too real, when it comes to dating outside your race, and I often feel as though sometimes all men see is my color and not me. It hurts. And she's talking about her personal experiences. So we're going to start to wrap up here. Thanks for hanging with me if you're a usual suspect. Let me see here. Troy saying there was a time when lots of black women wanted a Nino Brown, Michael Jordan, and the like, which put most black in the market for a non-hood rat. Huh? Women wanted a Nino Brown? Okay. You have to break that down for me. Are you saying that because women wanted somebody like Nino Brown or Michael Jordan, that men then started looking for women who weren't hood rats? I don't think I'm clear on that, Trey. You may have to break that down because it's a little confused. I'll be honest. If I'm confused, I'll be honest with you. If men are looking for women outside their race and that's your preference, that's fine. And I've said this before and I said it last week and I will continue to say it, but leave us out of it. If that's your preference, if you want to go get an Asian woman because you think they're more submissive, if you want to go get a white girl because you think they'll put up with your shit, if you want to go get somebody Middle Eastern because you think their daddy has money, do you. Leave us out of it. You don't have to roll back and say, well, I'm with this Asian chick because, end it at because. Just say, I'm with this Asian chick and I love her. Period. Nobody's asking for a further assessment. Nobody's asking for a further opinion. If you believe within yourself that black women have driven you away, keep that to yourself. How does that help anybody? How is that helping anybody to drive them away? And the same goes for black women. You know, if you've had bad experiences with black men, if you feel like they've broken your heart and hardened you, okay, that's fine. But you do not have to denigrate. You do not have to demonize. You do not have to down anybody else in order to lift up someone else. If you love that person you're with, love that person. There's no reason for you to say, well, I love her because I don't like these other people. Don't do that. That's tacky. That's so tacky. And it's not necessary. It doesn't help anybody. Basically, you're just being petty and vindictive, if you're going to put it that way. And I've heard it. I've absolutely heard it. I will never forget when Wesley Snipes said that mess in an Ebony magazine interview. I remember that as a young girl. And I was thinking, you know, well, are we not worthy to be loved? Is there something wrong with us? You know, and luckily I was able to counteract that for myself, but maybe there was somebody who wasn't strong enough to do that for themselves. And if they keep hearing that, if they keep getting compared, if they are told through their environment that they are not worthy or good enough because there's something better than you, how do you expect them to feel about it? That's just not okay in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's why we ask, where is the Black love? The topic of this show was very important for us to discuss. Love is love is love is love. We want it to be real. We want to love ourselves and we want to be loved by those around us in our community, in our families. Thank you, John White. We want those things for ourselves, and the Black love can always be found. That's what we want you to come away from this with. It is there for us to partake in, to give, to show to others in our community. We should be fostering it in a local level. We can't all be, and what do we want to be? Will and Jada and Swizz and Alicia, Gabby and Dwayne Wade. Sure, their marriages look great, but you cannot compare somebody else's highlight reel to your behind the scenes. When you see them on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, it's like, oh yeah. I'm 49, back in the 80s, 90s. I grew up in Oakland. Okay, shout out to Oakland. Some of the females, not all, but some, wanted a Nino Brown, New Jack City, or an athlete, which put black men in a position to head scratch because some were not athletic and some were not trying to be the dealer. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I get that. I get that thinking that and that's what I just got through saying. What you saw was in your community, the girls you interacted with only were looking for that one thing, and you weren't that thing. So it made you feel some kind of way. But hopefully you came to the conclusion that, you know what, I'm going to stay in my line and in my lane and find somebody who does want who I am, what I am. If they don't want me and we're not compatible, that's fine, because I'm not about that life. And maybe, you know, you were young, you weren't able to be that strong, but hopefully you can go into it and pass on that knowledge to somebody else. And that's what we need to start doing. And of course, I've lost the thought I was on. But I thought that was an important comment, and thank you for breaking that down, Troy. I appreciate you doing that and hanging with us this long. I appreciate everybody for staying with us this long on the live stream. And I'm sorry for the people watching the replay, but it was a lot of good information. We had a lot of great talks tonight, and everybody was in the chat enjoying themselves. We want to thank Honey Child for calling in so much. We want to thank At The Real Ruku for joining us. We just want to remind you guys that the Black love is there. It's there for the taking. It's there to be expressed. And it's real, special, and unique. It is purifying in its best form. And that's what we want to look for. We want to look for the best in that Black love because it's here for us to be expressed to everyone that we can. And we hope you've enjoyed the show. Let's go ahead and wrap up with our housekeeping notes. Thank you to all our usual suspects. We saw Gary Cisniski come into the chat, Michael Mitchell, Muggsy Malone, Erica. We saw you too in there. I really hope you guys have enjoyed. And I hope you take the time to look up some of the information that we discussed. If you want to roll back to certain timestamps and look at the Pew Research Center or the Student Voice of Washington University, Statista, and blackdemographics.com. I recommend that information as well. And we'll try to put some links in the comment sections and descriptions when we do the post on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully you'll like, share the stream, subscribe, follow us. We're on Twitch. Thank you. Peace and love to everybody. Hopefully you enjoy the discussion. We do this every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Hip Hop Citizen live stream. This is our platform. I'm Diva Views. You can find me on Instagram at It's Diva Views. You can find me on Facebook, Diva Views Citizen. My profiles are not the best, but maybe you've got some suggestions for what I can do. I usually look at food and like various memes. And you can find the rest of my panel. We have Architect 7 dropping gems during the week with his crew of DJs and producers, spinning beats for you guys. So always look for his live pop-ups. Make sure you're following to get those notifications. We also have David Simonism with his show on Wednesdays, the David Simonism Show, where he has topics and guests as well. And his are definitely music related and other topics that he wants to hit on. And then our Cornerstone show is Friday Night Live. We come on at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until we feel like it, where we discuss hip hop birthdays, anniversaries. We usually have a musical guest or a guest that is in the hip hop community that we want to talk to. And then we go into news and gossip. We're also looking to start a new clip show for you guys where we just sit around and look at funny memes and clips and just kind of laugh together, shoot the shit and roast them. So we're going to try to put that together for you guys as well. Let us know what content you want to see. Let us know what other shows you'd like us to put on. If you want more music, you want more talk shows, you love everything the way it is, definitely give us the feedback because you, the hip hop citizenry, are who we're doing this all for. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for rocking with me tonight. Shout out to Don Juan the Mac for being on the boards tonight, and to Dialect 718, who's been my producer for over a month and a half. I really appreciate him. Give him some love. If you find him on Twitch, Instagram, or on Facebook, you can find Don Juan the Mac on all social media platforms. And we hope you'll join us again next week, August 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about cancel culture. Let everybody know, and we will get with you soon. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.